Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on another edition of DAX Machina. We are going to be jumping into this one with both feet here in just a moment, but I want to take a quick moment to introduce my family from another mother, my brother Steve and my brother Doc, Carry Pocket Doc Davis, who's been absent for far too long, but we understand because he's been busy as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest.
Fact.
Anthony will be with us in a minute, and we are waiting for Jesus Payan to be able to join us in the studio. He has confirmed he will be here. He's just running a few minutes late. So how the hell is everybody doing tonight?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
You know, as for me, I've not yet begun to defile myself. But, that's...
The night is young.
The night is young.
Correct.
The night is young, and the drink is cold.
Yeah. I've been running like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, so it's been pretty busy.
Well, you know, busy is good.
It is. Keeps the lights on, that's for sure.
You know,
Birthdays
your day job company, I'm not talking about the Dark Angel one, but the other day job, seemed to help me acquire a new pistol for my arsenal, Doc.
And that significant firearms company.
Yep, that significant
Nice.
firearms company you work for. A cop friend of mine bought one of their wares, and his wife has gotten to the point with his collection where she told him if she bought one, he had to sell one. And so as a result of him buying from your company, he sold me something from a competitor that I've been looking for a long time at a steep discount. So, yeah, I like your company even more than I used to.
Yeah, discounts are always good. Discounts are good.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
Well, I'm glad everybody was able to join us tonight. We will get started with the guest here in just a minute. We are waiting for him to be able to jump in with us. I think he's running just a little bit late getting back to his computer. Hey, Bigfoot Michigan Rob's in the house. Hey, how you doing? AJ Congdon, Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group. Hey, guys, thank you guys for jumping in. We got a full house tonight. Mondoc 40 and Research is here. Robert Forster, Pat Murphy, Northwoods Cryptid. Hey, Northwoods. Can't wait to hear the insult on your ex-wife tonight.
I'm back. I just spoke to him.
Is he on his way?
So.
Okay.
Yeah, he said give him 5 minutes. He's getting his camera set up, he said.
Awesome. I've got Roberta Pudva, Jason Blair, Tammy Lamb. Lanita Bryant is in the house. Hooter Transport. We have got a full house. Jake Light. I'm trying to roll back. Pat Murphy. Hi, Pat. I think that's all I've seen. Hey, Mark Napier's in the house as well. Glad you all could join us. And like he was saying that, Cryptid Huntress is in the house. Hey, Jessica, how you doing? Hey, Fred in Alaska's in the house as well. Hey, Fred. Fred's going to be on Jessica's show tonight, but I hope you guys will stick around for ours. Theirs starts in about an hour. So we're kind of competing for time here. Sorry, Jessica.
And the fans will drop down to 0. It'll be us dumb 4 bastards and our guest.
Womp, 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 womp.
But Anthony was just saying that Jesus has to set up his camera, so he's just running a couple minutes late. Corey Cole's in the house. Pat Murphy again. Yeah, we are all rocking the house tonight. We are starting to see quite a few people in the house. Kyle Reel's in the house, just here and there, 66. Bob Wilson, aka Grumpy. Got a lot of folks here. Before Jesus gets here, there's a couple things I want to jump in about. I want to remind everybody that if you have not had a chance to purchase your tickets for the upcoming LBL conference, that'll be on August 13th of this year in Paris, Tennessee. It's the first annual Dogman Cryptid Conference. I will be a guest there as well as quite a few others. Let me turn the banner off so everybody can see everybody's names. We have a full house. Going to be a lot of people there. Should be a really good time. And I will get the link to the show to where you can purchase tickets here shortly and get that placed. I should just create that as a banner, but I forgot to do it. But I hope you guys will join us for that. It's going to be a good time. It's the 13th of August of this year. And tickets are going pretty quick. So if you guys want to come and hang out with some really interesting folks, and maybe pick up a book or two from yours truly, I will be there with a table full of books and a what passes for a smile on my face, considering I have the face for radio.
Well, you know, the camera can turn off their DA. You might improve our show. No,
just might. But Doc, you I know you've been busy as heck, but anything new out in your direction?
Got another save. So
you did. That's
cool.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, actually, two. Got a law enforcement save. Well, actually, two law enforcement saves. Can't really disclose details. Just that it was a incident in which our products were used that saved two people's lives. So that's pretty cool.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. Pretty happy.
And folks, those are the Dark Angel kits. To me, for pound, you can't. There's no better kit on the market.
Thank you.
There's one literally in my vehicle. There's one on my belt. There's anywhere I go, there's a Dark Angel kit in close proximity.
Yeah, the best kit you got's the one on you, or the one closest by. So
that's right.
Well,
certainly,
my lovely
beats
bride,
the alternative.
Yes,
my lovely bride bought me a new range bag recently, and it's got about maybe a 6x9 Molly panel on it. And she's like, "What's that going to be? What's that for?" And I said, "Well, it's a Molly rig. It's used to attach things to." She goes, "What are you going to attach to it?" I said, "I think I'm attaching a Dark Angel medical kit, actually."
Yeah. Heck yeah. I carry one on my range bag every time I go to the range.
Stuff happens.
Because
you never know.
Not every range has got them. And I ask all the guys or people, guys and gals in my class, I'm like, "Hey, how many of y'all go to public ranges?" And a lot of them raise their hands. I'm like, "How many of y'all are terrified on public ranges?" And everybody raises their hand. And I'm like, yeah, because they don't always have a plan.
My youngest son, Noah, the one that's joined us here many times, him and his friends will go out to the range, and he's like 23. He'll be 23 this year, so it's not like he's a little kid going out to the range with his buddies. These are grown men going. But I always insist they take one of my kits with them every time they go.
Absolutely, man. It always pays to have it. It's better to have it and not need it than need it not have it, because hope is a very poor strategy.
That's true. It's kind of like a parachute. If you ever need it and don't have it, then you're never probably going to need it again.
It'll be your one free fall.
Right. Yeah. You'll be qualified as an Army no jumper. High altitude, no hope.
No. Oh, Lord.
North Cryptid already is ragging on his ex about writing her into one of the books.
I might have to do that, dude. Because it's been so funny.
Just by Dogman.
Yeah, I had to bring it up because you brought it up earlier. So
yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh, it's amazing.
Mercy.
I mean, if you're going to go out in a GA-verse story, the Gugway eating is about the funnest way you can make that happen.
Unless it involves a snowmobile and a Wendigo.
He doesn't like her. He does not like her. Wow.
See, I get along pretty well with mine. We've got a mutual understanding that if one of us caught fire, the other one pissed on us to put us out. So there's no love on there at all.
Yeah, I don't talk to mine, so I understand his pain. Believe me, I understand.
Oh, well. Hopefully Jesus will get here in a minute so we can actually get on a topic.
We're derailing like a son of a gun right now.
Why start now? I mean,
like a snowball headed straight to hell. That's for sure.
At least we don't have to stand in any lines.
This is true.
I call the seat by the bar. Of course, my life will only have devil's cut.
Yeah. Things could be worse. Could be some of that 10 high or military special bourbon,
Yeah.
Stuff that just gets burned.
Yeah. Bourbon comes in a big plastic bottle.
Yeah.
I was at the store the other day, and I saw one that comes in a little aluminum can, like you used to put gas in your lawnmower.
The still house. Yeah.
Yeah.
That stuff. It tastes kind of like it too.
If it comes in a metal can, just like you'd put gas in an old lawnmower, I'm going to guess it's probably right gut. Well, there's
like
the
a
man,
runoff.
the legend.
It is.
Jesus, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well, man.
We got you, man.
I can barely hear anybody.
Oh.
Folks, this is the man of the hour. His name is Jesus Payan. He's an actor, a stunt man, and a writer. Kind of a regular Renaissance man. If you watch Breaking Bad, you will probably recognize him. He played Gonzo in Breaking Bad and also Better Call Saul. He's been in episodes of Longmire. He's been all over the place as far as Hollywood goes, rubbing elbows with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. And he's a Bigfoot researcher, an excellent Bigfoot researcher.
I can't hear anything you guys are saying. I don't understand.
Can't hear us? Uh-oh.
I can like a whisper. I have the volume all the way up.
That's weird. Well, I can hear Jesus and I can hear DA.
That's weird. It's like like if you have something on Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hang on,
I'm turning off my
I can,
Bluetooth just in case that helps anything.
Chat.
I don't get it. It worked fine last time.
I can hear you fine, man.
That's weird.
Hang on, let me message him.
Let me try something, okay? I'm gonna try something. I gotta get a little creative real quick. Hold on. Whoa.
Well, I'm gonna change the layout around a little bit because it's I'm basically cut off. Not that anybody really wants to see my face, but there we go. That'll work.
You muted Doc and Steve.
I didn't mute anybody.
No, I muted myself.
I muted myself while he was talking.
Oh, I didn't know what was going on there.
So if you need to hide me down in a corner, that's fine. I'm an ugly bastard.
No,
anyway.
I'll just move it around. AJ Congren says he can hear all of us 5x5. Awesome. As soon as we can get his audio straightened out, we'll jump in. But he's got his own Bigfoot channel called Breaking Bigfoot on YouTube. He has done some amazing research down on the Navajo reservations and in the mountains of New Mexico. Really some amazing videos over there, including one where he got footage of what looks to be a Bigfoot walking along an irrigation canal. Some really fantastic video. I am going to post his link. Actually, I believe it's in the description of the show, but I'll go ahead and share it anyway. Give me just a second to grab that. I am posting that now in the chat. That's the link to his YouTube channel. It's called Breaking Bigfoot. Some really fantastic videos over there.
I'm back, guys. I'm going to try these earphones to see if this helps. But, sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
I bought them off of Facebook Market and they shut off. If they're not plugged in, I think, even though they're wireless. So let's see if these will work.
Keep your fingers crossed, folks.
Technology is great until it ain't.
Right. You are not wrong.
Whenever something does work on this show, we usually have to preface it like Monty Python, and now for something completely different.
Although we haven't had as many of those instances now that we switched over to StreamYard.
Yeah,
No.
I think it probably does.
You just can hear us? Maybe not. Sorry, Steve.
Oh, no. No,
What
you're
were
good.
you saying?
I don't remember. Could have been that important.
Anybody got the Jeopardy music?
Right?
Can you hear us?
It's like if I had the volume, like say you were trying to watch something without waking somebody up and you had the volume all the way low.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you guys sound like right now, too.
Yeah.
It usually works better with headphones. It might also be your, if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a gear icon that says settings. You might check that. It might have selected a different audio source. Sometimes it just defaults to the wrong audio source. If you click settings and then click audio, you can select which audio source you're using, and that may be the trick.
So I think I heard somebody say something about audio.
Yeah. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see at the bottom of the StreamYard screen, you'll see a gear icon that says settings. You click that gear icon.
Sorry about this, guys.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all. Click that gear icon that says settings.
I just don't understand what the problem would be.
It could have selected defaulted.
I fixed
it.
Hey!
All right. Okay.
Praise the Lord.
I think the cat did it behind you. The cat fixed it.
Probably.
The cat fixed it.
You know?
You gotta work when the cat shows up behind you. I'm like, not coincidence.
No pun intended, but praise Jesus.
Yeah, you know. Okay.
You want to give the group a little bit of, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. I kind of give you an introduction, but I'll let you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. Then we'll jump into this thing.
Okay, here we go. Well, I go by Jesus. In movies and film, I go by Jesus Jr. It's more catchier than going, hey, that one actor, hey, Zeus. You know what I mean? That's my main job, and since 2005. Before that, I was a federal detention officer, bodyguard, security, bouncer, head of security, trained people in security, all kinds of stuff like that, and a fighter, martial arts and boxing. In between all of that, since I was little, I've been experiencing crazy, weird stuff, ghosts, UFOs, and then not until the year 2000 did I get into the physical, actual, in the field research with Sasquatch. So that started in 2000, so it's 2022 now. I've been studying Sasquatch in books since I was about, I'd say really reading up on them since I was like 10 years old, you know? But yeah, I'm a stuntman.
Well, your channel, Breaking Bigfoot, has got some amazing videos on it. I posted the link in the chat earlier, and that's some of those videos I can't wait to discuss. But the first one I really want to talk about on here is the first video that really caught my eye of yours, and it was the one where you were driving down the road and spotted one moving along that irrigation canal on the Navajo res. Could you tell us about that?
Well, I had been on the res already for, I don't know, minimum 3 months already, more the whole summer, and hadn't had a visual sighting yet while I was there, but tons of, tracks and noises and structures and all that fun stuff, and all the other people that have seen them telling me, what they've seen. And I got a phone call from a family member of where I was staying, and they're asking if I could give them a ride. There was a young couple. I could give them a ride to Walmart to get some groceries, and they're also from the res. So we go get groceries and head back home to its Upper Fruitland Navajo Reservation next to Farmington. And we're driving on the main highway on the res. To the left is the casino there, and then to the right's just like 5-acre, 10-acre plots of properties, and then a good quarter mile is the San Juan River. Mm-hmm. So we're pulling in just past the casino. We're about halfway to their house, and the guy's wife, says, "Oh, there's one right there," because we were talking about it, because that's what I'm there for. And and I didn't look yet because I was driving, we're going over 50, driving, so I didn't try to like just not look. But her old man, he already reiterated what she's seen, and he was like, "Holy crap, there is one." So that's when I pulled over and started watching and filming, but pulled out my phone. It was the last thing I expected to see at that moment in the middle of the day, coming back from Walmart. But yeah, it was what she claimed it was. I could see it with my own eyes, and it just sucks how like cell phones at the time, well, still also now, but the farther you zoom in, it looks like way farther than it is. When you're there, and versus in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to watch it go hide behind the little hills and peeking its head over, looking at us, and I just think that's very, it's always possible that it was a 7 to 8 foot tall Navajo dude wearing all black and the black ski mask and black shoes, and been hiding on the res from all of us and didn't know about him. But yeah, it's like my thing is, why, if you were that far away from the highway, okay, a quarter mile from the highway, and you're from the area, and you're a big guy, really big guy, and somebody just pulled over on the highway that far away while you're walking on a dirt road alongside an irrigation, big irrigation ditch, would you hide? You know what I mean? Why would you duck and hide
right
from a car pulled over? It's not like, doesn't look like it was this little, my little, had at the time, my little ghetto Saturn wagon, old wagon, and it was I painted it like Deadpool. I had painted it with spray paint. So it didn't look like a cop car or nothing. It was nothing to be worried about. So that's one of the arguments I have, is because I had a lot of people say, "Oh, that's just dude." I'm like, what if it was a dude? Why would a dude hide? Right. And then, of course, if they didn't watch the whole documentary or video, whatever you want to call it, you would learn later that there was more evidence and more interaction after that.
Yeah.
Well,
another thing I find really fascinating is I've been following accounts from that area of the Navajo Res for years with the research done by Brenda Harris.
Yeah.
So it's not like, that there's suddenly Bigfoot sightings on the Res. They've been going on for years. But something you told me when we were talking the other day on the phone, you mentioned that some of those houses in that area have been abandoned.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there, if you watch the video behind the Bigfoot, then you'll see trees there, and then you go look a little farther, some houses, and then you got the river, and then the mountain cliff face. But yeah, that area, they were having lots of Bigfoot problems, and the Bigfoots weren't being nice. They got some scurry ones up there in that area. There's some real pissed off, scary stuff up there.
What was going on? Were there attacks or animal mutilations?
Yeah, they were just, I guess it's a lot kind of like stalking. Mm-hmm. If you've ever been stalked, they don't normally go all the way and get in the house, but they'll stare in the window. They'll throw little pebbles. They'll tap. They'll steal your dog, kill your sheep, eat your watermelons, take your corn. You know what I mean? And while I was walking out there, I ran into a guy that he found his horse dead the day before, with its rear hind leg ripped off.
Dang.
So things like that is why those people moved out. And again, I get the comments on my channel, man, Bigfoot wouldn't go out there, man. There's like houses, people living there and, spending time with their families. Yeah, Bigfoot wouldn't do that. It's like.
Well, that's one thing that cracks me up is some people think that they are the be all end all. They know exactly how these things behave, and they don't. I mean, there are lots of accounts of them coming into town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Native American legends date back centuries. I mean, even before European settlers got here in the first place, of them coming into villages and stealing people. So, I would say, there are some that are probably, kinder, gentler Bigfoot, the gentle giants of the woods, as people refer to them. But there are probably just as many that would just as soon rip your arm off as deal with you.
Well,
in Europe, you got the wood wolves, right?
Mm-hmm, the wild man,
and the wild man, and the hairy man. Yeah, so they're all over the place and all throughout every history. Mm-hmm. One version or another deal with a different name. And people got to understand now, if we were looking, if you're an individual, which you guys are out there, that look at Sasquatch as just a primate, a very large primate, and thinks like a primate, just like a gorilla or a chimpanzee. Those guys they're a little bit more predictable, as in, because we've studied them for so long, we know they're, how they act in the wild and in captivity. And now if you've got a Bigfoot, and he's not just a big old primate, big old Gigantopithecus, then if he has an intellect like humans, then he's all over the place. We can't really, he's about as, predictable as us. It just depends on.
There could be creatures among the Bigfoot population that could be the equivalent of a human serial killer.
Well, and even primates are a little bit off the chart sometimes. There was a story just a few years ago about this couple who essentially rescued and raised a chimpanzee, and then they put it in this wildlife preserve. Well, on like its 20th birthday, they came up and they're going to spend a birthday with it, and they brought a cake and they brought snacks and stuff like that. And the thing just suddenly flipped the switch, and it ate the husband's face. Ate like half the leg and a butt cheek off the woman. I mean, it killed her. And this is a chimp that they knew intimately. Mm-hmm. And we're talking 100-pound chimp. If your Bigfoot is coming up with party tricks like ripping the legs off of horses, I really don't think he cares too much. Oh well, I don't think I like this hood. I'm not going to come in here. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Shannon Boomgard had a question. She says, do they do it in small amounts so you question it, or do they steal and take with abandon like less intelligent animals?
Well, from what I've come across in all the different reports and people that I've dealt with, it really depends on the, relationship they have with that person. Because when they're just trying to get food, they take here and there. Mm-hmm. When they're trying to get you out of there, they're killing without even taking. They're not eating it. You know what I mean? So it really just depends on what's going on, what you've done to them, if anything, what's pissed them off. It's all over the place, like I said, because they're like us.
Yeah. I heard one story. And I believe it was Brenda Harris that did this story about some people in a trailer that it nearly knocked off the foundation because it was setting on cement blocks. That it kept hitting the side of the trailer to the point it shifted it and almost tipped the trailer over. Yeah,
I took Brenda out, showed her and her family how to cast prints for the first time a long time ago. And we went to the Chusco Mountains, and that was before. The first time we were on finding Bigfoot. We did a lot of hunting together. But they'll tackle a house. They tackled my house. One of them tackled our house, but it's a big house, so it just kind of shook the house. They've tackled the back deck. They are not like I said, when they're not being nice, they are real blatant.
Mm-hmm. Shannon Boomgard wanted to know what does upset them.
Shooting their children, shooting them. I guess approaching some of their territories with in the forests where they might have their kids and wives and grannies and all that. That's what I've noticed. Those are the main things that I've seen. If we don't do stuff like that to them, they don't seem to really bother you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my buddy who's having a problem. DA knows the story up over here in Pensacola, and there's 5 of them on his property, and the big male, does not like him. And I was on the phone with him when he was talking to me when all this was going on. You can hear this thing beating the hell out of the house, and he called the sheriff's department on the phone with me. They've been out to his house so many times, it's like routine. And he's got rocks, pictures of rocks you could see. It's just crazy what they do. and it only happens when his wife is at the house. This thing acts up. If his wife's not there, he's got pictures of this thing watching him and staring at him when he's in the backyard and taking the garbage out. I showed DA the pictures, and we blew one of them up, and he's like, yeah, there's one here standing in the woods behind my house. I couldn't find it. DA blew it up, and he goes, there it is. And he found it. And I was like, whoa, okay, now I see it. But this thing was so aggressive towards him, he doesn't know what to do. And he calls me, and he just said, he broke down. He's like, hey, man, I need to kill this thing. This thing is ruining my life, and I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do. So if somebody has something like that going on, what do you think they should do, Jesus?
Well, of course, I don't have no definitive answer, that because I'm not there to try and help. But you'd have to, I guess, go through the motions. I would say, going at it. If it's just a big animal, then trapping, shooting, that sort of stuff. You go through those motions. If you can't do that, and you're dealing with something smarter. Has he tried? I know it sounds silly, but has he tried talking to him or asking him what's the problem? And they don't. Nothing. No response.
Nothing.
Now, folks, I do want to show those pictures on the show, but I don't have permission from the guy that took them. I know he sent them to Anthony, who then sent them to me. But until we get actual permission from the guy, I don't want to show those on the show. I do have some really good pictures I want to share, but again, I want to make sure I've got permission to be able to show them on the show before we do.
Yeah. If there's anything of mine that you want to show out of all my videos, feel free. Don't have to ask.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, you'd have to go through the motions, and you got to figure out. He just moved there not too long ago? Did it just start happening?
No, there was a lady living in the house on 2 acres behind him, an elderly lady. I guess that was feeding them, and she basically passed. And the house, they let the house go, and now these things are in the basement, like not the basement, but the crawl space of the house and the house itself. He said there's nests. You could see a nest in there. And that's one of the pictures that we have of this looking through the crawl space with its face out staring at him. And ever since that lady passed, the aggression has gone through the roof. Not just with him. Right. Yeah. Not with just him, but with the neighbor. Another lady next door.
There's stories of that all over the place. You quit feeding your Bigfoots, they get pissed.
And that's why I don't advocate feeding them. And it's not necessarily because I think that they're all going to turn violent. I don't think that. I don't advocate feeding or gifting because I've seen it go bad with regular animals. There was a lady here in Missouri that was feeding black bears on her deck. And she was she went in the hospital for a week, and when she came home, the bears had ripped through her back door into her kitchen and eaten everything in the kitchen, destroyed a good chunk of the house, did thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of damage because they were so used to getting food and it wasn't there all of a sudden. So any animal's capable of that. I don't recommend feeding any wild animals because it creates a dependence on you, and when that stops, things can turn very violent.
Yeah, and he was also telling me that he notices that, and I don't mean to be off key or disgusting, but when his wife goes through her menstrual, this thing it hypes it up even more. This thing is like super aggressive.
It may be a case where it's like we were mentioning earlier, where it simply wants to either abduct her or drive him out of the picture, so he's out of the way.
Yeah, maybe.
That's crazy.
We don't know. Like, if that lady lived there a long time and been doing that a long time, then they built a. They obviously didn't kill her unless that's what he did, but they had a relationship with her. So I'm guessing that they liked her, and then she's dead now. So they're probably upset about that. Besides the food, you know what I mean? The normal getting food like that. Like I said, for me, I have to go through all the motions, and one of those motions for me would be thinking in the analytical sense of what could possibly make them understand you're a friend of them, and that you're a friend of that lady. Get a picture of the lady, put it on a little stick, make a little tiny little grave site. Nothing big old thing, but some
Right.
rocks in a square, and put some dirt, some flowers, and hang her picture there, and then put some apples, and then tell them, hey, I'm sorry she's gone. She's gone now. She was my friend.
Yeah,
Just like I said, you never know. Try everything.
No,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This thing tried breaking. DA seen the pictures also. Tried ripping the door off his back of his porch to get in the house. The bottom metal piece. I mean, it was just. I showed DA. I'll send you the pictures off the air, Jesus, just between me and you.
Yeah.
And it's just the bite marks. You can see the bite marks on the handle where it ripped it up. It ripped up the door. It's crazy, man. Just crazy what's going on over there.
If it's that bad, well, then, like I said, there's either you shoot them or you move. Pretty much, if it's getting violent like that.
And he says that. No, he says that's his dream house. He's like, I don't know what to do.
He was putting out those motion sensors lights, right? And they kept breaking them.
Yeah.
And then the thing you got to worry about like this.
They kept jumping on the side of the house.
Well, and something else you got to think about too, Anthony, and Jesus. I don't know if you have. You probably. I hope you agree with this. This is his theory. But if you shoot one, he's got 5 of them, and if you shoot one of them, what's that going to do to the other ones? That's going to piss them off, and that's going to escalate stuff, and they're going to go.
Oh yeah. Well, it reminds me so much of the Hanobia,
Mm-hmm. The siege at Hanabi.
Yeah. Is it Hanabia? Hanabi?
It's Hanabi. That's the way they pronounce it.
Hanabi.
You will never find more messed up pronunciations than you will in the state of Oklahoma.
You
and I both know that MIAMI is Miami, right?
Yeah.
Not in Oklahoma, it's Miami.
Right.
No, it ain't. It's Miami.
Don't know why. And if you say Miami, they will correct you.
That's wild.
And the siege at Hanabi, it's spelled HONOBIA. It looks like
it's always said Hanobia,
but it's not pronounced that way. They call it Hanabi.
Oh, okay.
Don't know why.
Well, I mean, you can go up north, up New England. It's Peabody, Massachusetts, but no, it's Peabody. I'm like, what? That's Peabody, but whatever.
Yeah, it's like by us. We got one over here. It's called Reddick, Florida, and everybody calls it Red Dick. I'm like, no, it's Reddick.
Well, I mean, if with all the ones around your buddy's house, if they've been getting the escalation to him and the neighbor, have they considered doing a peace offering like Jesus was talking about, Anthony? Have they thrown some food out there or something like that, maybe to try to de-escalate stuff?
Yeah, I think he did, and it didn't work. It's like every time. I was telling DA, every time he was out in the yard trying to he hasn't cut the grass in the backyard for over a year. He won't go in the back because this thing throws boulders at him. I mean, like this, flings them, and he can't, even when he takes the garbage out, he carries with him. This thing is like 10 feet, 20 feet away looking at him through the woods at night.
Wow.
And he's got eye shine. I got the pictures, and you can see it. He's standing over the car taking the picture, and this thing's looking directly at him. It's crazy, man. It's like no, the one behind him on the 2 acres that I sent you the pictures on. The lady next door to him, the older lady, has cats and flower pots with, tomatoes and okra growing and stuff like that. And this thing will take it, and they disappear. The cats have been disappearing. He doesn't know what to do, man. The cops think he's crazy.
Well,
the deputies think he's a lunatic. But I heard it firsthand.
They know it's
begging
real.
me, man, you got to come up here.
If they got Bigfoots
know.
out there, then those cops know. Trust me, them cops know.
Yeah,
They
Of
just
course.
they can't do shit about it. You know, they're just like, nope. You know, no
Bro,
touch. You know what I mean?
he had one researcher. He had one researcher come up there, and I think he was from the BFRO.
Oh hell no!
And the guy literally stayed an hour and got scared off. He didn't want to stay. He's like, you need to stay here at night with me, and I'll show you. It's going to come out at us. It'll be aggressive. He's like, He goes, this guy packed his stuff up and left, took off. So he doesn't know what to do, man. I mean, it's a crazy situation that's been going on. So
I think I would get some of those Skyhammer mortar fireworks and like angle them on a board and start lobbing them right under that house.
I would go buy off of eBay a bunch of broken GoPros and set them up all over the property and tell and yell. And yeah, like, I've got cameras here, cameras there, cameras here. I got cameras on me, you know, because honestly, like I said, they know what cameras are, you know, and hey, not buy them a little bit of time. Because when I was working with the university, they asked me, they were willing to give me a whole bunch of trap cameras, you know, and I was like, no, I don't want trap cameras at all. They're all why, you know, the more cameras, the better. And I'm like, I go hang up a bunch of trap cameras, you know, they're not going to come around them. I'm going to end my research right there, you know, in this area that they're at, because that's their territory. They've been there for hundreds and thousands of years, you know, and I
mean, you had that. You had that one come into your campsite, right? That one come into your campsite and look right into your tent.
Yep, there were two of them.
They're not scared.
Oh hell no.
They're not. Yeah, they're not scared of us. They're not. You know, the one like when I talked to you a week ago, you were telling me when, you know, this thing was looking right in on your, and I think it was one of your buddies that was with you in the tent, right?
Yeah.
He got scared, and that thing looked right in, and I mean, come on. I mean, that's crazy, man. That's nuts.
No, what's wild is, you know, it'd be one thing if, like I said, you know, if it was just a big old 8. It was just looking in, you know, out of curiosity, you know, like that. It wasn't doing that. This is what freaked out the dude. It was looking down and going like this to him quietly, okay? Going like that. Literally messing with him.
Oh, dude.
And the other one that I got the picture of was like this. Laughing. You know, and he had a smile on his face while the other one's making all these faces. You know, scaring the living crap out of this kid.
Yeah, they're walking up there going, hey, watch me scare the shit out of this guy.
Like, hey,
you know, stuck their arm underneath. They're like, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, stop that. And they were just having fun. So they know how to screw with people when they want to screw with people because they're bored.
It's like the reverse of messing with Sasquatch.
Yeah, you know,
with you.
Exactly, man.
That beef jerky shit's fun. Watch it.
Well, it's like you said. I mean, they got nothing.
That's literally, that's the commercial right there.
Yeah, They got nothing to be afraid of with us. I mean, we're freaking snacks if they want them to be, you know. So they can just pass their time screwing with you. So
no, like what I tell people is you got to think about. They have histories. They pass down their histories to their kids. Where I'm coming from, their clans, their tribes, you know, they're intelligent beings. So you got to understand that these beings, creatures, whatever you want to call them, have seen our society rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall, while they're staying the same place. And you know what I mean? So they know know us well. They know us better than we know ourselves, and that's why they haven't been.
They know we're
caught. You know,
they know we're violent. We're people violent. We're violent. Humans are violent. No matter what you say, you know they see it.
And if they do kill us or children or anything, usually they usually make sure there's no evidence left. Just gone. You're just gone. You know what I mean? Because they know that if it links to them murders and bodies, then they know that means humans coming with torches and
with a lot of
pitchforks.
guns. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, they're not stupid. So when they're really pissed off and they're doing stuff like that, you've got to wonder, why are they so that angry? What pissed them off? What started that? You know, was it because the old lady? Was it because they wanted an apple that bad? You know, that's something you got to look at it on multiple levels. If you handle it it's just a big monster, then you're going to get a big monster. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe they had a relationship with this old lady, and now they've got some dysfunctional grieving.
Yeah, you know that's what I'm saying. It's like maybe they want to see you pay respect to the old lady, show that you understand that that was their people's. You know, I don't know. It's worth something versus having to go crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to ask you that because you have more experience than I do, or probably anybody on the panel. As far as the research go and everything, and it's like no one, like DA says, and everybody else will say here, Steve and Doc and me. There's no experts, but at least somebody has more knowledge than the other person that's been out in the field, that's been doing it a long time to give a good answer. Yeah, he's at his wit's end, man. I mean,
I bet. I can only imagine.
He just doesn't know what to do.
It's heartbreaking because there has been so many cases where you can't fix it. You know what I mean? I would love to give the magic answer, but there's so many. Like I said, those people's abandoned their houses. Mm-hmm. There's whole towns that that go abandoned because those guys don't want them there.
Alaska,
here in Missouri, you can drive down back roads and find houses that have just been left. And I've often wondered if they were left because somebody died, or if they were left because people were afraid to stay there.
Yeah, pushed out.
Some of them are in some pretty remote wooded territory that I've been through. I found places where they've left behind entire trailer houses that still looked livable, but nobody had lived in them obviously in years. I found farmhouses that just went completely fallow. And people do abandon houses for other reasons. I'm not saying that's 100%, but it just makes you wonder when you see some of these places that are just, it was an otherwise nice house, it's just empty.
I've got something that isn't talked about too much. I don't think I haven't heard it that much, really hardly at all. But what if? Okay, this is a what if. What if Sasquatches, when they die, some of them become spirits that stick around the forests, or demons, or evil spirits, whatever they can be. Well, I'm pretty sure they can't be a demon, but do you know what I mean? What if we're dealing with spirits as well, and what if it's that them materializing shortly, and then you see them dematerialize?
I think that's not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, I know I've been in houses that my wife and I, we lived in a house where we would occasionally see a cat cross the hallway, and we didn't own a cat. I believe you can find spirits of animals sometimes. After our big bull mastiff died from cancer, he was my dog. He was everywhere I went. He wanted to be right by my side. And when I worked overnights as a deputy, he'd leave my wife alone, let her sleep all night. But if I was home on a night off, he would come wake me up to let him out. And for months after he passed, I would wake up in the middle of the night because he would come up and put his chin because he was tall enough. He'd put his chin on the bed and put his face right by mine and go in my face. And I would wake up to that for months after he passed.
Wow. Oh, that's wild, because I've seen ghosts too. You know what I mean? So I know they exist. Now, what these entities are exactly, I can't say for sure, of course. Even if I don't believe in ghosts. Well, they're there still. I cannot believe all at once, But it's like I wonder, are you guys familiar with the SLS cameras? Mm-hmm. They track the shape, for ghosts. Mm-hmm. I wonder if more of us, the researchers and people that go in the field, started using those. You know what I mean? Because if they're camouflaging and just our own naked eye can't notice it, may it be predator status, or they're just their
Right.
hair, whatever it is, or they got the camo on, that device might be able to track them or show
That's a good
where
point.
they're at. You know what I mean? Nighttime too.
I'd like to add something like that to my kit when I go.
You know that-
Florida Research Group had a question for you. They were on just the other night. Some awesome
Yep.
people. She says, "Why do Native Americans not want to talk about Bigfoot?" And you're uniquely poised to answer this question.
Well, my own personal opinion on why is that society already looks at us a certain way. Okay? It's one of two ways usually. It's either in the traditional teardrop coming down because somebody littered, you know, and then going down the stream and in a canoe, or a horrible other version that we're just drunks and no good pieces of crap of society, you know?
Mhm.
So talking about something like that is on a lot of the reservations, and you don't want to be associated when you're being called a savage, yourself with something like a Bigfoot, a wild man. You know, when people are accusing, you know, us of being, you know, may have been 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 10 days ago, whatever. But to me, unless you're a medicine man and you know the history of Sasquatches to each tribe, what they mean to the tribe, that would be the only reason, as a medicine man, saying I don't want somebody else to know all of our history. But besides that, it's just we don't need no help, you know, looking crazy or nuts or, you know, from society as it is. You know what I mean?
I know a lot of tribes find it to be taboo to talk about certain subjects. Like the Navajo will not discuss skinwalkers.
Yeah.
Even saying the name can invite the attention of one on you.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a spirit. Just like, you know, you give them attention, they'll bug you more.
Mhm.
You know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, you know, if like we were saying, if it's possible for animals to become ghosts, there's no reason whatsoever we couldn't. You run into the spirit of a Bigfoot. It could explain a lot of the incidents where people couldn't capture them on anything.
Yeah, or
they knew
actually
they were
get touched by them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then like what's going on with Mike Patterson, right? From Ontario Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, I think that's his name.
Yeah. All the weird stuff that he's having is just like screaming spirit.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? With a porting, you know, in the spirit world, you know what porting is?
Mhm.
Yeah, where objects would pop out of nowhere. Like literally marbles will fall out of right in front of you out in the air, coins, you know, all this stuff. And he has a lot of that happens too, you know. There's so many different things I want to try research-wise that I want to incorporate from the ghost world. That I think
that's a great approach.
You know what I mean? It's something that's not being done too much.
Right. Another video of yours I wanted to mention, and the original video wasn't yours, but you did one of the best breakdowns I've ever seen, was of that footage from Survivorman season 7, where the juvenile runs behind him. Your breakdown video on that is freaking awesome. It's the best breakdown I've seen done of it.
Thank you. Leafy Squatch, I call him.
That piece of footage, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Survivorman Bigfoot. I think it's season 7. Was it episode 2?
I think so.
I think it was episode 2. At one point, Survivorman is walking and talking to his camera, and everybody knows from his series he's out there by himself, and he's miles and miles and miles away. Well, he's walking and talking to the camera and doesn't see one duck out from behind of a tree and run past him, run behind him. He never sees it, and he didn't even know it was there until later, you know, like weeks later when he was editing the footage. And it's plain as day. You can see it. It's not a big one. It's probably 5 foot tall, would you think?
Yeah, I'd say in that range, between 5 and 6.
5 foot range. It's obviously not an adult. It just steps out from behind a tree as soon as he's passed and races for the tree line across a small clearing. And it's remarkably clear footage. There's no denying what it is, because one, he know he's out there by himself, and two, what are the odds somebody's out there in a black ghillie suit messing with him, and he didn't see it. If it had been somebody pulling a prank on him, they'd have made sure he knew they were there. But for it to not show up until weeks later when he's editing the footage is just really pretty phenomenal. Jesus, tell us a little bit about your breakdown of it, because you pulled out some stuff I hadn't noticed before.
Well, you guys, have you guys ever used editing, for on your phone to edit a picture or something, like you want to enhance the color or whatever? There's this one app I use called Snapseed, okay, and it has an option to do HDRscape, all right, on whatever image you use. It doesn't know what the image is, and I'll use that, and that brings out a bunch of detail from darkness that you don't normally see, okay, on any picture. And then there's another app that I use called Picas, Picas. And in these breakdowns, I usually explain my process. That's kind of like a cartooning app. It just the app just wants to cartoon whatever's there. It doesn't care what it is. It doesn't know what it is. It just follows the pattern and makes them solid colors or whatever. So doing that after I've sharpened and enhanced, sometimes will give the image, you can see what's there a lot better. Now if you just presented the final product to somebody, they'd be like, that looks crazy, but what's really important to me is that, okay, if camera, the film rates and the processing rates of the film, if that, whatever we want to call it, if it was a juvenile Sasquatch or whatever it was, running that fast, you gotta understand, if it is a Sasquatch, not a random, weird, strange, parallaxed leaf somehow, it's running really fast. It's running really quietly, and it's doing it with dexterity, where it's able to jump over a log. Okay. Now, one of the arguments is it looks like it hasn't moved. The legs are in the same, stance in a few of the frames. But if you've ever filmed a helicopter, certain cameras, their frame rate, it looks like the helicopter blades aren't moving. When in reality, they're going real quick. So I think that's what happened, because in that moment that it moved that quickly and like quietly, the camera literally didn't pick up every movement of its legs. And it looked like,
it's also moving through some broken terrain far faster than any human would try. I would have broken my neck trying to run through that.
What are the chances if say for Dinker Dunker and Stroud that it is just a leaf, okay, and it's parallax, then what are the chances that a leaf, the one black leaf in the forest that you can see anywhere, happened to as he turned, the parallax caused the leaf to follow the terrain exactly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And dodge stuff, just in on accident.
Yeah.
There's
no way that was a leaf.
You know what I mean?
No.
And when I finally did the final enhancements, you could see ocular cavities. You could see a booty. You could see a thigh muscle. I didn't put those there. All I did was go enhance, increase, and presented it. So it's like I said, there's a line. If you're gonna be really wanting to know what Bigfoot is and what they are, what they do, what they can do, you can't shut off the it's possible door, because we don't know. You know what I mean? And if you're just like, no, it's just a big old monkey, can't do nothing else besides being a monkey, then that's all you're going to hear. And you're going to ignore a bunch of possible evidence that's, groundbreaking, that we're just ignoring because we wouldn't be all, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we try to, accept stories at face value. Of course, you're going to run into some claims that even the most tried and true of us are like, I don't know about that one, but
yeah,
those are more rare than people would think. And I won't go into any of those. That everybody's heard them. But some of these claims, even the ones where people say it just disappeared right before my eyes, or I turned my head and it was and it came and it looked back and it was gone. I did that with a buddy of mine who's an Army Ranger. I bet him I could find him in the woods, and he goes, "Oh yeah, where am I?" And I turned back and looked, and he was gone, and I never found him. He said, I came close to stepping on him a couple of times, but I didn't find him. So if a guy that's just trained how to do that can disappear, these things can.
Yeah.
Be it a natural, like the clear hair shafts, like some people have put forth, be it a natural cloaking ability. I can't say with any degree of, I can't say 100% certain in any direction what it could possibly be. But I will say this: people are seeing, they'll take their eyes off of it for a second, and it's gone.
Yep.
There was one account I spoke to a guy who's Cherokee from down in Oklahoma, and he said he was walking along a riverbank down a trail, and he rounded a corner in the trail, and there it was. And when it realized he was there, it stepped into the woods and just vanished. And he said, we walked up to where it walked into the trees, and he couldn't find it anymore. I don't know if that's, it crossed dimensions or cloaked or whatever you want to call it, or of just a natural camouflage ability, because I've heard other stories that are very much on the camouflage side. There were some guys went camping here in the Mark Twain National Forest, college guys. And of course, being college guys, they were drinking quite a few beers. Well, one of the guys decides to walk away from the fire out into the woods and take a leak. And he said, while he was pissing on a tree, he kept getting hit with pine cones from behind this big bush. And he gets pissed off. So when he goes back in the camp, he's like, oh, which one of you assholes was throwing pine cones at me? They're like, we never left the fire. What are you talking about? He says, one of you jackasses over here behind this big bush throwing pine cones at me while I was pissing. They're like, dude, it wasn't us. We never left. So they grabbed flashlights and went back to the tree where he took a leak, and the bush was gone.
Right.
So I asked him what did they do after that? He goes, sobered up, packed up, and got the hell out of there.
It's amazing how quickly sobriety comes on you in those situations.
Yeah, quicker than coffee.
Right.
Steve Garza has a very good point. He says humans will just not accept that an animal or other being is smarter than us and can do things we can't. He's spot on.
Yep.
And a lot of the Native American accounts, they're the first ones to say this thing is so good in the woods you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't want to be seen, you're not going to see it.
Well, for sure. Like you said, there's only two ways you're going to see it: if they're letting you, or you get the rare chance of catching one off guard because of one of their kids running and they're chasing their kid, or something like that. They've got a lot of practice,
Facebook user, I'm not sure, because StreamYard doesn't always recognize people from Facebook by name, but it says Pinecone reminds me of the scene in one of the Lakeview Man series. Yeah, I definitely use actual encounters to create scenes in my books. So some of the scenes that you will find in my books are taken directly from encounters that I've spoken to people about. Of course, obviously, I've changed names and settings to protect anonymity, but I use actual encounter stories and my own research to create the characters and create the monsters and the scenes in my book. So that's a prime example. That one made it into a book because it was just such a cool story.
Cool.
Truth is stranger than fiction sometimes.
Very much so.
Found that out.
Jesus, I always like to ask this, everybody. What is your most frightening encounter?
My most frightening encounter was my first encounter in person with one. That was with a friend. It was after midnight. We're in the desert in New Mexico, and had one approach us on a gravel road, and it was about 20 feet in front of us, and it was pacing back and forth slowly at first. And then it started picking up speed back and forth on this gravel road. And just kept on getting faster and faster. It was just really odd at the time to be hearing this in front of us. And started feeling that it meant us harm. It felt like it was building up cojones to do something. It was like having to build up. And it got to the point where we felt so hunted, I guess that would be the feeling, like something's about to attack us, literally attack us. I told my friend Michael to pick up some rocks. We squatted down, grabbed rocks, and threw a crap load of rocks at it and didn't hit it whatsoever, and it still went faster and faster. And I reached down for another rock, found a good sized one, and closed my eyes and threw it as hard as I could at the sound with my eyes closed, and I hit it, and it screamed at us, "Wah!" And we took off back towards my house. My house is on the middle of a 5-acre property, and so we're running on the low dirt road all the way home, and there's no moon out. It was darker and dark, so the floodlights on the house only lit up half of that run we were doing. So it was pitch dark up until we got closer, and as I got closer and the lights started getting brighter, I could see to my left that it was a large juvenile, but it was juvenile Sasquatch running on all fours, just kind of galloping. Hadn't to try hard. I wasn't running that fast. I thought I would, but I'm sure I wasn't running fast. But yeah, we ran up on the deck, tackled the deck. One side, ran around the other side, tackled that side of the deck. We finally got inside the house, and yeah, it was scary as hell at the time. I didn't know what the hell, what I was seeing at first. In the moment, I just know that it was running on 4 legs. It was covered in hair, and it had a scary face that didn't look right. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh my God. And it was a real quick look and just run. Yeah, it was pretty scary stuff.
Well, the fact that it's shifted to all fours, to get some speed, people don't do that.
No.
Yeah, there's no way that was a person.
If you want to play devil's advocate and say it was somebody screwing with some kids in the desert, I'm not the most coordinated of individuals, but I don't go on all fours when I'm running.
Especially from in the pitch dark. So
right.
Yeah, I'm literally, and we were surrounded. I'm just lucky that I knew where the dirt road was. In that area, it's all giant mesquite bushes. So you run the wrong direction, you're running into just straight a million daggers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Mesquite will tear you up.
Ranger, what are you doing?
Um,
Sorry, y'all. My dog's floating their biscuits down here. Lord.
Gotta quick give it a bourbon.
Man.
Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group wanted to know any idea of what their life expectancy is.
That's a good question.
I don't think anybody really knows.
Right? From history, what shows, I'm guessing they live somewhat longer lives than us, up to over between 100 and 200, maybe. Like, not speculating. You know what I mean?
It's hard to say that with any confidence.
Yeah. Well, the one time like I said, I've seen an elderly Bigfoot was I made a video on it, and I said a puppet or Bigfoot or old Bigfoot, and yeah, if you ever seen an old man, very old man, usually their back's humped, slouched over, they got a little pot belly, and got no kind of butt, and some thin little legs, and I'm on my way, lost the butt already, but yeah, they were calling, it was on that show Fact or Faked. It was a clip, okay? And yeah, they decided that it was fake, that it must be a puppet. And whoever made this video created a life-size Bigfoot puppet and must have put wood planks along the top of the trees to puppeteer.
Wouldn't the strings have gotten in tree branches?
You would think. So I called up a friend, an old friend. I've mentioned him before, I believe, to you. Michael McCormick. He is a puppeteer. Worked with Jim Henson and Frank Oz and all those greats. And I sent him the video because it's like, who would you ask? If that's what they're saying it is, how about you ask a professional puppeteer, artist,
right. Perfect guy to ask.
Oh yeah, and he don't just do shows, at the local mall, And I showed him the footage. I go, is it a puppet? And he watched it and he was like, that's not a puppet. And if it is a puppet, we haven't done something that cool. That size of animatronics or nothing.
And this is the guy that works for Frank Oz.
Yeah, And so he goes, I don't think it's a suit. He goes, because, one, the forearms are too thin. Literally, the forearms were too thin for a human to fit in if they're going to be that big. You know what I mean? That size.
Right.
He said you can't fit in the suit. Your head wouldn't fit in the head of that suit. If it's a suit. But when I studied it and enhanced everything, you could see that it had a big old hairy patch back here, just like I got in the back of mine. His is a little bit hairier, but just all the telltale signs of a really, really old person.
Mhm.
And you watch that footage, if you can find that video, it says puppet or Bigfoot, and you see a Bigfoot all like a puppet for the thumbnail. But yeah, really stare about it and think about your, somebody old, or go to an old folks home and watch some old people, and you'll be like, oh snap. Because if you're gonna fake a Bigfoot, again, you got to think motive, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna be a hoaxer. I'm gonna fake a Bigfoot. What should I do? I should anatomically correctly design a Bigfoot that's possibly 150 years old. Can barely walk anymore, with a little booty. It's like, I always fall back on, if people are hoaxing, what's their motivation beyond, I want to be famous? You know what I mean? And the hoaxers, they're pretty lazy. They keep it pretty simple. A suit.
Like the guy in Montana that got ran over trying to hoax a Bigfoot crossing the road. He was just wearing a ghillie suit, and he misjudged the distance and got smoked by a car.
Yep. Or those crazy bastards that froze monkey suit with some possum guts, or whatever. They don't usually go to the point where they're making musculatures and the correct anatomy, for these beings. Well, so that's what I weigh into all that stuff, even though it may look ridiculous or look just,
Yeah, you got to consider most of the hoaxers are going to consider the danger too. There's a lot of people with guns in these remote areas, and I'll never forget. I was reading a story about Return of the Jedi, and they filmed a good portion of that indoor scene in Northern California, and the production company, the entire time that Chewbacca was in costume, they had like an armed security detail with him because they were afraid that some dumbass was going to shoot him.
Yep.
Because he's running around the redwoods looking like Bigfoot. And there's that danger.
Hell yeah, there is.
I mean, I'm not a crazy lunatic with a gun, but if I was out in the middle of the desert and Bigfoot's pacing the road trying to size me up, I'm gonna shoot first and ask questions later because my fat ass ain't gonna get away.
It'd be a dangerous thing to hoax some people here in Missouri because
no kidding.
We're a constitutional carry state. Anybody that doesn't have a felony can carry concealed. I guarantee you, if somebody dressed like that, like ran up on me in a campsite, it's going to get shot.
Yeah, just like mine. What happened to me when I was out hunting? Why are you going to come out in a monkey suit when you got 10,000 rednecks running around with rifles on swamp buggies? Ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Mark Mayfield had a question for you, Jesus. He says, I know the topic is Bigfoot, but have you had any Dogman encounters?
I'm sorry, the topic is Bigfoot. We cannot discuss Dogman. We can't. It just wouldn't be right. No, I think I've had one encounter, I think, of something dog-headed like wolf, werewolf, Dogman. Where do you call it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was out here in New Mexico, right at where I was living at the time. That area was all Apache land with Mescalero. So that whole area we've got a lot of weird things going on there, And one night I was with my nephew and we were out on my property and had a little fire going and everything, and saw one just run by right between the mesquite bushes, just came by, turned to my right. It was silent though. It was silent. We were talking about cool Bigfoot stuff and everything. We just finished our documentary for the day. Didn't expect it at all. you know, and I was just like, what the hell? I think I just saw a freaking dog dude. You know, I had never, you know, experienced anything like that, but that's the only time that I can say that I possibly dealt with a dogman. But
Considering where you were, it could have
big.
also been a skinwalker.
Well, that's the thing. The skinwalker thing, they're not as prevalent as people think they are.
Mhm.
Okay, the majority of them are very old people. Okay, these are usually, you know, the witches. Well, they're no longer medicine men or women. They're witches now, and they're normally like 60s and above, going to the 70s, right? So they don't go out as much just randomly for the heck of it, just wandering around. I'm just going to wander around, you know. They try to keep their movement specific, who they're going to harass, who they're after. Yeah, just same thing again. That's another reason why, you know, they don't want to talk about it too much, you know. But you know, there's so many. Everybody likes to come on, you know. And once you understand that it's a person, it's a person, and the forms that they take usually are more not so skeleton-y. You know, the people. It's fun to, you know, to think that and stuff, but it's a lot more. You get a confusion between the Skinwalker accounts and Bigfoot accounts
Yeah.
because they don't like each other. I'll tell you that. Skinwalker, the witches and them, they don't like each other. They fight. So you know, you'll get a lot of people that are quick, even on the res. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying just people that aren't, you know, anywhere in their reses, but if they don't have Bigfoot on the head and understand that there's Bigfoots in the area, there's very similar things that they do, because like I said, you rarely get the skinwalkers actually physically going that far. It's not as common as you would think. It's once again, they do more tormenting, harassing, scratching on windows, watching you at nighttime, doing crazy crap like that, getting spirits to mess with you, you know. And but yeah, so I haven't really heard anybody really speak on that, you know, on that level. It's like everybody, you know, it just bugged me. I was like, everything's a skinwalker. They're out there, but people got to really understand that it's some old lady or some old guy that just pissed off at the world and don't like no one.
Yeah.
You know, that's going out to screw with some people at night. And they said they're not all powerful. They're not all powerful. They can be killed, you know. But yeah, I think that the majority of, I'd say at least 60%, I'm just throwing a number out there, of skinwalker reports are actually Bigfoot activity of some sort, you know.
That's good to know. I had a question from the hilariously named In a Bath with Amber Heard. This, do big feet use fire?
I've heard of it, but more in the distant past than I have recently. Within, as in our last 50, 60 years of reports, I rarely hear about them using fire, but it's not, doesn't happen. I've heard of it happen, that they do use it, but it's not that common. Like I said, now if you go the farther back in history you go, you know, and I'm talking, you know, 300, 400 years, the same beings they're using clothes, they're using shoes, sandals, clubs,
like the gigantic reed sandals that were found in Lovelock Cave.
You know, and as society changed and the rules changed, they've had to fall back. So there's been you know, wars with them, with you know, different tribes and everything, and they've been pushed back. No more trading, you know, with certain tribes, so they're not getting the goods, the clothes, or the shoes, or whatever the situation was. Something's changed, and yeah, they've had to fall back deep to obscurity. But you know what I mean.
Lenita Bryant says, I left chewing tobacco and they didn't touch it. I also left rye whiskey not touched. Well, I don't really blame them there. I don't like rye either.
Did she show them what to do with it?
Good question. Some of your videos have some pretty good humorous notes to them. The one in particular that I wanted to bring up, and I was cracking up watching the video, is the one you said, "Did Bigfoot just give me the bird?" I love that video. It cracks me up every time. It's only like 8 minutes long, folks. So some of these videos are real quick watches. But he's got some longer videos too that are really great. But yeah, that one just cracked me up. You want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Sure. I was up on the Upper Fruitland Reservation. Been living there for a year at that time, and the guy that I was staying with, he was shooting at the Bigfoots. Apparently, I didn't know they had been doing that before I got there. And I was talking to one of the aunties on the res, and she lives in that area and sees them, pretty regularly since she was little. They used to go out and play with the little ones and stuff and feed them, and so they're real. They know them real well. And me, my wife, and George, we decided we're gonna go out in the middle of the day and see if we could find any evidence of footprints, whatever, And I saw some movement. So I started taking pictures, of the landscape, and I was like, right there, I took some more pictures right there. I could see this thing moving. It was real far away. And I get home, and I'm looking through the pictures, and I see there's a Bigfoot right there, and this one cropping of bushes, and there's a few frames where you can see that it's moving its hands. Its face is staying still, and in one picture, it's like going like hiding, and putting its arms different ways. And on the last one, it's throwing the finger. It's a long finger, but it was throwing a finger. And I was like, what the heck? Bigfoot just throw a finger? And I went straight to the auntie's house across the road. And I was like, Auntie, check this out. I was the Harry boys, give me the finger. And she was like, no, that finger wasn't for you. That's for George. They don't like George no more. He's been shooting this 22 at them, And I was like, oh, okay, makes sense now. But yeah, because they pissed off. They in that area, people have a lot of crops and gardens and all this stuff. And the little old ladies, they'll be out there just watering or sitting on their porch, and they'll see the Bigfoots just run into their yard, stealing watermelons or whatever, and they'll throw them the bird and be like, screw you, And
my grandparents, they had a garden up close to the house, and then they planted like pumpkins and squash and a watermelon at the back of the field and never touched it. And I always asked them why, and they're like, don't worry about it. That's just what we call that, the Indian garden. You just leave it there. And they never explained why, but they did it every year.
Yep.
Blues and G music cracked me up. It says, Lenita, where do you leave the rye? Just so I know. Now, Cognac, they'd be impressed. Courvoisier, Lenita, that's my one of the best. I can just see Bigfoot out there going, yes, I don't drink anything but the finest in 12-year-old single malts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see that long little finger sticking out, drinking from that fancy little glass. Bigfoot with a Glencairn.
This would be a shot glass for them. I mean,
mm-hmm. I bet they get drunk though. It's like if you got moose, they get drunk like that off the fruits.
Yeah, if you let any fruit ferment, it'll, especially apples and watermelons, they'll get you.
Yep. So yeah, I don't see them not drinking.
At the St. Louis Zoo, back when my dad was a kid, so this would have been like the late 50s. They had a gorilla there named Phil, and Phil the gorilla was like a big deal because he was very human-like. And of course, bear in mind, this is like the 1950s. There was no PETA. There weren't these other organizations protecting animals. Well, the St. Louis Zoo was owned by Anheuser-Busch, makers of Budweiser. Well, just like they have like the sea lion shows and things like that, they had a little thing where one of the keepers would come out with a 6-pack of Buds, and he'd pop one open and hand it to Phil, and Phil drink his beer. And of course, he'd take it in like one gulp. And, he and the keeper would split the 6-pack with Phil getting 5 of them. And then he'd, dig out a pack of cigarettes and light them up. And he'd light one and hand to Phil, and Phil would smoke a cigarette. Well, by the end of a hot summer day, Phil was wasted because, every 2 hours they would do this little show, and he was having 5 beers every 2 hours. But, Now, granted, he was probably 5'6". I don't know how big a gorilla is.
How do I
700
sign
pounds.
up for that?
Yeah, but it was still getting to him eventually.
Oh yeah, and that same reservation, we went out, looking for some Bigfoots. It was within that same time of when I saw that one walking. But we're on the right side of where I filmed it, like way farther to the right in the desert, and we found this area. So we saw some tracks, and we found a 12-pack of beer. Okay, just randomly in a bush, and all the beers had been ripped open. There was big thumbprints you could see in the aluminum from when they'd been popped open. There was a couple with a bite mark, some canines in it, and so somebody stole somebody's beer, took it out to that bush, and didn't know how to use the pop top.
Wow.
That makes a certain amount of sense. I mean, if they didn't know how to use a pop top, you open it any way you can.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if they could smell it or they'd observed it to know there was something good in it.
Oh yeah.
We used to have a German Shepherd when I was a kid. That if my dad was sitting on the back porch having a beer after work, he had to guard it, because if he didn't, it would pick the beer up and tip it back and drink it. He did it every time.
Well, Cora does that now. I've got a Shepherd Husky mix, and if you I usually pour beers into glasses, and as soon as I pour a beer in a glass, she'll come up, and when I'm not looking, she'll lick the foam off the top of the beer. I mean, I don't offer it to her; she finds on her own. Apparently, she likes it. So,
dog has discerning tastes.
Apparently, when she's not licking her own crevices, she's taking the foam off my craft beer.
Now, something else I wanted to bring up is I know there's a lot of forest fires going on down in New Mexico. Have you observed any changes in the behavior of the Sasquatch in your area because of those?
Not really. Luckily, the area that I research a lot has gone unscathed. And I mean just as areas. Now, one of my areas, Tule Creek, I call Tule Creek. They seem to have abandoned that area.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're only going in and out of it like maybe at night, and that's it. But just passing through, they're not hanging out there no more. That was where they're. The first time we were whistling back and forth, and all that. Now I've heard the stories of the helicopter pilots that are following the fires, telling about seeing Bigfoots running out with other animals out of the forest and across fields, running from the fires. Mm-hmm. So they're barely getting out themselves sometimes. The fires are moving so fast. But we have cave systems all throughout our mountains here. You can go from the top to the bottom of the mountain, and the Bigfoots use those cave systems. The Apache here used to use them when the Spanish would come and attack. They would all go to the caves and just disappear. And, they was like, oh, mystical, ooh, And, so stopped using those, but they haven't. They're still getting to use those systems up there. So they kind of have shelter from the fires, luckily. Yeah.
I know you live down toward Carlsbad, correct?
More like the southeastern tip of New Mexico. Like literally, I'm
Not too far from El Paso.
I'm 80 miles from El Paso.
Okay. When I lived in New Mexico, I lived in the northeastern corner in a little town called Clayton. My sister used to live in TRC.
Yep, I'm about an hour from Las Cruces, 3 hours from Albuquerque, and then 4 from Santa Fe.
Okay.
Have you done any research in the Roswell area?
Not for Bigfoot. Now, the UFO thing, yeah, I've done research there and found out where the actual crash sites were, not in Roswell. and it was in Capitan up here, actually right where Bigfoot is. That's where the actual UFO came down, was in the Capitan area. And the rancher, he still had, they were getting permits still for the meat locker that the government gave him after he agreed to not talk anymore about what happened. So they were still renewing the permit to the free meat locker that they got, from the military.
Wow.
And yeah, but that's the story, Mr. Roberts. I wrote the script. That's what that script is about. It's the Majestic 12 group and the Roswell crash and all that I'm going to be sending you, so you can trip out, because I want to. Maybe you can help me. I want to turn it to a book.
I'd love to. I'd love to help.
You know what I mean? So I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I still want to do it as a movie, but I didn't want to make it till I had the right cast that I want, and the main character, I want it to be Matthew McConaughey. So
all right.
Yeah, he's gonna be Mac Brazel. I think he'd be a perfect Mac Brazel, for the Roswell incident.
You got the connections for all that. I mean, your background in the movie industry, you can basically reach out to probably anybody you worked with. So that's awesome. You can make the connect. It's like DA. His dream is to make one of his books into a movie or a series, especially the Wild Hunt. Right. Some of the stuff they're putting on Netflix and Amazon. I mean, it's like, who even approved this?
Yeah,
it's like
it's filler. It's just filler.
Yeah,
It's
remakes and bad movies.
It's crap. If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
That's right. You recently made a two-part video about a UFO seen over White Sands.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about that? I mean, I don't know if anybody's completely aware of that incident. And with the government releasing more and more information on UFOs, like cockpit footage and redacted documents, the government's basically just admitted UFOs are real. We even had a congressional hearing within the last couple of weeks. And that video you've got, the two-part video you talk about, that sighting over Roswell, I think that's a really significant sighting. You want to go into that a little bit?
Well, that video you're talking about is actually right. Oh, you guys know where White Sands Missile Range is?
Been there.
Okay, so my house is between the Apache Reservation and White Sands Missile Range. So right in the middle on the flat desert, facing the missile range. So I get to see all kinds of cool stuff. Not just I've got to see a whole fleet of F-117s flying. Nice. Cool stuff, really cool stuff. So I was raised on military bases all my life, so I know what I'm seeing in the sky, what it's not. And
Right.
Me and the wife were sitting out there and waiting. For some reason, it seemed at sunset, whatever their cloaking thing they're using, I guess right when it hits dusk, whatever, it just screws up their invisibility somehow because the light's bending a certain way or something. So, boom, we could see the UFO, and I've seen so many that I wanted my wife to film something herself, So I was like, all right, this is you're filming it. So I let her film it. And there was a big, giant, it looked like a cigar from our angle, but I think it was a disc. We were just looking at it from the side because it had lights, rotating. But from the side, it just looks like a bar, And later that night, we went back out to see if we could see anything. And sure enough, it looked like the same ship, but it's at nighttime now. And it was still hovering over the White Sands. It just moved, I guess, over, to the left. And so when you watch the video, you'll see the moon and then a light over here and a light over here. And it's confusing at first because you see another light blinking and you're like, oh, that's what we're looking at. But then you realize, no, it's a whole giant disc that you're looking at, that's right over the White Sands Missile Range. I've had so much weird stuff. Had one UFO that appeared over my head. I have this video too. And my mom's with me. We're out front. And she was like, "It's over your head." So I turn to film up, and right when I get it on camera, it goes and disappears. Right, and we're like, "Oh man, I'm looking around, and it's gone." And she goes, "It's over your head again. Do it again. There it is again." Then just like it just sucked into nothingness. You know what I mean? It's weird stuff, man. Weird stuff that I've got there. Monster.
I know the Southwest region down there, New Mexico, Arizona, has a long history of UFO sightings. I mean, we've got the Phoenix lights that were captured on camera by thousands of people.
Yep.
And a lot of people that haven't spent any time in the desert don't realize just how well you can see the night sky.
Oh yeah,
It's amazing. I mean, you can lay on your back and it looks like you're in space. With just so many stars that you can't see when you're around the city lights of a city.
Yep.
But some of the most compelling photographic evidence of alien ships have come from the New Mexico, Arizona deserts.
Yep.
Again, the Phoenix lights is the big one that comes to everybody's mind. But it's not just the Roswell incident. There's a lot of incidents that have happened, especially in and around the White Sands Missile Range.
Oh yeah, well, like I was saying, everybody here has seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that happened originally here at White Sands Missile Range in the 50s. Okay, that incident, and that's where the story came from. And we had
Really?
one of the oh yeah, and Dan Fry, he worked out there on the missile range. He wrote a couple books. And talks about it in a book called "To Men of Earth," a letter to Men of Earth, and. Yeah, we had a military guy come into town, go straight to the newspapers, because he saw what happened on the range, field security, and it freaked him out. What he saw, them come down the exchange and all that stuff, and went to the newspaper and was telling them what he saw, and they called up his first shirt and they're like, "Hey, we got one of your guys down here talking about UFOs and aliens and stuff. We think he's going, he must be drunk or gone crazy. Can you come get him?" And the military came and took him. But yeah, that was down here. That happened down here.
I love it.
Yeah, we had. I live in Ocala, so we have a bombing range out in the forest, and I'm not really big into UFOs, but now that they're getting reports that they're seeing things over the bombing range area, So, I don't know what their intentions are or what's going on, but like you said, what you're seeing, especially a plane. I mean, I see A-10s flying over all the time, or the new one, the Raptor, when they're doing their runs and stuff. We even get black Apaches.
Yep.
That do the bombing runs over here, and I'll see them. But they're getting accounts now that these things are appearing over the bombing range, and it's a military. It's not a military base; it's a facility. So
Right.
when you're in the forest, it's all fenced off, and it's a couple of square. I think it's like 5 miles, maybe a little bit more. But like I said to DA, it'll shake my house when they do their bombing runs. It'll rattle you, but it's crazy what goes on out there. And that's where I do most of the research is out maybe 3 miles from the bombing range, where there's a lot of activity going on with Bigfoot out in that area.
Yep.
And it's nuts. It's nuts what goes on out there.
Right. It's wild stuff.
Definitely. And with the government releasing more and more about UFOs, like cockpit footage and memos, and they basically just very quietly admitted they were real. The mainstream media really didn't pick up on it, but the government basically just said, "Here it is." And I think it's only a matter of time till they do that with certain cryptids. Some of the hunting laws have been changed to the wording of the laws now include near human chimeras. Now, if you really want to dig into what that means, Well, we've got two medical experts right here, Doc and Steve. Guys, what would you determine to be a near human chimera?
Well, I mean, chimera by definition has two sets of DNA. You'll see it in humans in a case of where you had a set of twins, and one of them died in utero, and its genetic material was absorbed into the other one. So you end up with this person who has, like, they may have two different colored eyes, or their skin may down the middle of their body change from one type of skin, maybe like a very freckly skin, to another or whatever. I guess you could be looking at some kind of a crossbreed. Some of the Bigfoot, with a human or whatever. I don't know. What do you think, Doc?
I think that's plausible. I mean, that kind of lends to the theory that the aliens, any extraterrestrial entities came down and interbred with humans, and you get some of that cross DNA in there as well. So maybe even some of the shadow DNA that you might find on a DNA test. So yeah, I definitely think that's a plausible theory there.
Yeah, I'm thinking man, bear, pig.
It's a damn Sam Squanch.
Well, that actually happened. I mean, on federal level, they very quietly changed some of the hunting laws to include what they called near human chimeras. To me, that would include any number of cryptids.
Oh yeah. Well, like you guys heard of blennies?
No.
Okay, so in medieval times, you'll see more. They're throughout history, the paintings of them through across all kinds of different, different countries and whatnot. But did you guys ever watch the Looney Tunes?
Mm-hmm. Oh
when
yeah.
you were kids, okay. Well, there was this one big red hairy monster they would mess with, or Bugs Bunny would mess with.
Yeah.
Right here, the shape like that, and had two big eyes and a mouth on his chest. There was no neck; it was just eyes, mouth, and big old hairy guy, red hairy dude. So these beings, they were just that. They were human looking. Set. It was just shoulder, no head, and their faces on their chest and torso. Okay, and some were described as 10 to 12 feet tall. Some were covered in hair. Some weren't. During this time, there was also, which we do. That's why I'm bringing up the chimeras, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was individual ones that were the dog-headed people, in that same era. They said that when they would speak, half of it would be spoken word, and then barking. When they talked to each other, and it was always going on. There was human or creatures, whatever you want to call them, with 1 foot, one big ass foot, a real big foot, and they would. I know this sounds silly, but they would lay on their back and put their foot over them and use it for shade. And the thing about these creatures is that they're not just like in one history. They've been repeatedly brought up, and they're in maps. The Perry Rees map? Familiar with that?
Ice map? Yes, of Antarctica without ice on it?
There's one of them drawn on that map.
Really?
Yeah. What's his name? Alexander the Great.
Mm-hmm.
That old guy. Him and his boys ran into a whole group of these beings, the blennies, And there's so much that's hidden in our movies and cartoons, and especially from back in the day. I just find it very interesting that they had a blenny as one of the monsters for their cartoon show.
Yeah. Remember the character's name is Gossamer. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the chimera thing could go any way, with what we're doing with the pigs. And just again, during that time of the medieval days, with the majority of this history of these different creatures, you also had pig-headed people and pig people.
Mm-hmm.
So
down from ancient Egypt, they had all kinds of different humanoids with heads, heads of animals.
So now there is this video. It says it's in the corner it says The Onion. You guys know The Onion News?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a video. It's called Classified. You guys might have seen it. It's where they're in Congress and they're reading a bill out, and there's a guy, reading out this bill, to everybody.
Like every other word he says, classified.
Yeah, you seen it? You seen that one?
I've seen the video.
Okay. Now, the thing about that video that gets me is that if you're just a comedy group writing random bullshit, excuse my language, about just random crap just to sound cool, classified, big this monsters classified. Okay. But a lot of the stuff that they mentioned was pretty right on with a whole bunch of research that I've read and know, and the plans to come. It's very, very interesting, about the giant, that there's giants big giants underground that they've have in hibernation with these giant brass bracelets that keep them, at bay. The Kandahar giant, you got all these
the
different
giants of Lovelock Cave.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So this fake video, if you guys get a chance, rewatch it and listen really to what they're saying and what he says.
Well, the Onion is known for its satire, but satire is based on reality.
Yeah.
It was a way of dealing with current events in a humorous way.
Yep.
I mean, look at Mark Twain. I mean, he was one of the most famous satirists in American literature. He wrote about what he saw.
Yep.
Yep,
exactly. And I think what's really important, and I recommend to all researchers to listen or read to as much as possible, is the old wildman encounters.
I love those old ones you can find in newspapers from like the 1800s.
Oh yeah. Bigfoot Case Files. She has a playlist of those old encounters too. But if you want to learn about Bigfoot and how they act and how to react to them, you got a really good playbook right there with all those old encounters, because there's no people being worried about, they're going to think I'm crazy, or back then there was no reason to hoax that kind of crap. Right. And these are actually in the newspapers. These aren't just people talking crap, around the fire drinking some burr, and so it's like, if you really want to get a good idea of what these beings are, if you don't want to go farther back in history and read up on that, those will give you a good idea of what they're willing to do, how they've been killed, all kinds of different things. Those are really important, I think, for any researcher in this field.
Yeah, I agree. Those old newspaper clippings give you really good insight, and a lot of them are filled with, so and so was attacked, or so and so was killed on his property, and a search party was sent out. There's a lot of accounts like that. There's one, and I want to say it's in Kentucky. They refer to it as Werewolf Springs, where a guy and his manservant were riding in a buggy, and this werewolf, what they described as a werewolf type creature, which I believe was a Dogman, came out at them, and they dove off the buggy and ran in separate directions. And the account says the gentleman could hear his manservant screaming and being torn apart.
Yep. Well, so it kind of reminds me of right here where I'm at. We have pecan farms. Okay. And one of my close friends, actually the older brother of the gentleman that I was with that we got chased, his brothers worked on the pecan farms. His dad owned the pecan farm. And, I'm the Bigfoot guy. So the brothers were like, "Oh, you remember that time, Michael, that we heard all the dogs barking?" And it was nighttime, and they went out there and they used the spotlight. And they said that they saw like an 8-foot tall werewolf standing up, taking pecans from the tree.
Oh, nuts!
And then they ran.
Nuts are high in protein. High in carbohydrates and protein. They're a great source of food for something that's trying to maintain a body mass.
Yep. So, there's they're out here. We got all kinds of wild stuff out here. I mean, like literally, that's why I said that when they called this place the land of enchantment, they weren't joking. Like this, there's some crazy crap going on here.
Well, some of the best Thunderbird sightings are in New Mexico, like up near the Four Corners region.
Yep.
And that's a really, really rugged area. Lots of like mesas and Shiprock is up there. There are lots of big mesas with caves where something like that could easily hide.
Yep. And right here in White Sands, they just recently found fossilized footprints from small to huge. They're not advertising the 22-inch prints as much, but they found them out here in this area. This whole area was just loaded with megafauna. And we're still getting the same area where they have these footprints now, which they believe they might be the oldest footprints ever found. We're still having Bigfoots go back and forth along White Sands all the way to El Paso and to Juarez into Mexico.
There's been a lot of Dogman sightings by the Border Patrol along the U.S. Mexico border, along New Mexico and Arizona.
Yep.
I mean, they've seen them in packs. In fact, I think it was one account I read where a couple of Border Patrol agents actually engaged in a firefight over a couple because they were being charged, and that quietly got shut up.
Oh yeah. Well, there was even out here that there was some airmen that were doing patrol on the range, and there's an area where they have concrete walls, big concrete walls. And they're doing their rounds, and they're using their spotlight to check the walls, and they were looking up ahead, and it looked like part of the wall had broken away somehow, which shouldn't be like that from the last time they came by. And when they got closer with their spotlight, they realized that it was a spider, and we're talking about a huge, giant, 10-foot wide situation.
Jesus.
Like a tarantula.
Call in a freaking airstrike on that. I hate spiders.
That's what the A-10 is for.
Yeah.
I used to see
laser designate that target.
Right over on I was stationed on Davis Monthan Air Force Base. The A-10s were out there a lot, man. That was a huge airplane graveyard there. It was ridiculous, But yeah, it's like I tell a lot of people that
graveyard of planes.
Right, that's where Elvis
really cool.
Bought his plane, and Led Zeppelin too, I believe. But like I said, growing up, I was surrounded by the weird. I never focused just on one thing. I was kind of all over the place because I was seeing ghosts, seeing UFOs, and then always fascinated with Bigfoot, and then Bigfoot got to enter my life, and then. I started doing my YouTube channel, just putting all that different stuff in it, and it would never go over a few hundred people subscribing. And so I was, asking, what should I do to make my channel better? And they said, focus on one thing, and for the channel. So I never stopped focusing on everything, but for my channel, I try to stay with Bigfoot, Sasquatch research. But it's definitely not the only research that I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's with us. We talk a lot about Bigfoot and Dogman, but we do talk other cryptids as well. I like hearing pretty much anything. We've talked about chupacabras. We've talked about thunderbirds. We've talked about lake and ocean monsters. It's just we're kind of a catch-all. We enjoy talking about all of it, but our primary focus does seem to be on Bigfoot and Dogman.
Right.
I meant to ask you something. Did you hear about the encounter? It was an encounter I read, and I got to find it again. I don't remember what website it was on, but it was a New Mexico rancher near Eagle's Nest, New Mexico. Okay. Said he thought he had somebody on his land messing with his cattle, and he was watching them from a distance, and he saw him walking out past the cattle. And he said, looked like a guy dressed all in black. But as it got closer to a 4-strand barbed wire fence, he realized that it was much taller than the barbed wire fence, and it just stepped over the barbed wire fence and kept walking without breaking stride.
Nice.
Now, I don't know about you, but my big butt is not stepping over a 4-strand barbed wire fence. I got to pull a strand up and go under like the second strand. That is a tall barbed wire fence. It's probably easily 4 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
And so for something to just not break stride and step right over it, that's a big rascal.
No, it was like a rancher out here. Made the report that he heard a ruckus outside, ran outside because all the cows were freaking out, and yeah, there was a Bigfoot hugging from behind one of the cows, trying to pick up the cow and leave, and the cow was fighting to get away, and he shot his shotgun when he got out there. It let go, and the way he described it, just like you said, it's just stepped over the fence. It's big enough to hold cattle in. Just stepped over it like no problem and was gone.
There's a place here in Missouri, and this is an account I got secondhand, so I don't know the actual person, but I've asked to be put in touch with them so I can go down and film. This cattle rancher down near Eminence, Missouri, kept noticing that calves were going missing. So he put up trail cams to try to catch what was doing it, because it wasn't like they were killed by coyotes, because if coyote kills something, you're going to find pieces everywhere.
Yeah.
Chunks of fur, chunks of sinew. Coyotes are not clean eaters. They destroy something. There are no wolves in that area. Black bears would have also left some sort of trail where they dragged it off. These were just gone. No trail, no blood trail, as if they'd been picked up and were gone. So he put out game cameras, and the game cameras kept getting knocked down from a distance with rocks. A big rock would smash the game camera and knock it down. And then more calves would go missing. So he went out and started trailing looking for a track that led him back into the woods, and he found what he referred to as a killing ground. Near the entrance of a cave were bones of all sorts of animals, deer, small game like raccoons and others, possums and things like that, and cattle bones. And he wouldn't go in the cave. He backed out of the area and told a researcher I know that goes down in that area. But I'm trying to get permission to go down and talk to this guy and go on his land. I want to go find that cave.
Right.
But he referred to it as a killing ground.
I've got to give you a whole hell of a lot of hell no on that one there, DA.
You can have a shotgun.
Yep, just make it mad,
I draw the line at peeing in the vicinity of Dogman.
Give me a thermobaric grenade and I'll consider it. Damn, Ranger.
Did you feed that dog chili?
I don't know what he got into.
Oh, that squatch ass.
Freaking weapons of ass destruction going on here. Good Lord.
Squatch ass.
When we had our English Mastiff, he would come in and lay down near my feet. He just flopped down, and then it would sound like a tire going flat. You just hear.
Ranger's throwing.
And then your eyes would start burning.
He's throwing Sierra Bravo Deltas in here right now. He's throwing some Silent but Deadlies at me. Good Lord.
In a Bath with Amberheard says the bones are still there. Probably that's what I was told, that the bones, there's a lot of bones there in the area from lots of different animals, and we're not talking like a handful of bones. We're talking like the skeletons of dozens and dozens of animals. Yep. So I want to get back in that area. He was able to get close to it with a side-by-side, one of those little all-terrain vehicles. So I want to get permission from the farmer and maybe have him take me back there. Of course, I'm not going to go alone and I'm not going to go unarmed, but I do want to get back there and see if I can find that place.
And speaking of bones, Jesus, this is a question a lot of people have asked on a lot of shows that we've done. What do you think they do with their dead?
Well, what I think they do with their dead, I think we're dealing with cave situations. That they're either burying them in caves. Somebody once said that they put them in water and let the water waste them away, but I don't know about that, but you never know. I found, death spires made by them, but they're not using them to put on top. I think it was more a ceremonial for them, to do that. But like I said, the only thing I could imagine is they're taking them into cave systems to bury them.
There are lots of caves.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean. And
there's plenty of room there in the southwest.
I would hate to think they cannibalize, their dead. I don't think they do that, but you never know. But I've never heard of that. So, like I said, my best guess that would make the most sense would be them taking them into some type of cave system, because it'd just be too risky to have a fresh hole dug for them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah. Well, and something else, you just mentioned pyres. I mean, that's that's Native American traits right there, Native American culture, and so that could be like a memorial, to them type of thing. So that shows
yeah,
they revere their dead. So I would go more I would veer more towards the burying them in the caves and versus, hey,
yeah.
this is a protein source, type
Well,
of thing.
as strong as those things are, they could bury him in a cave and then roll a boulder over it. So we'd be
Easily,
like,
Yeah.
oh, well, there's no way to get in that.
Right, right.
and then like I've heard people say, these are from researchers saying that they think that they cover them with boulders. They lay them wherever in the forest and just put a shitload of boulders on them. I don't know about that one either, but yeah, to me, like I said, that one, the only thing that makes sense to me is caves, or they're doing some hooba juba music, throwing them in another dimension. But we're not finding them. I don't think they're
Right.
just leaving them out in the open to decompose like a deer or
Right.
anything like that.
Yeah.
There was another question I was wanting to ask you. Oh yeah, that's what it was. You have found a number of tree structures, and a lot of researchers find them in areas, particularly the ones that interest me, or where they've ripped a tree out of the ground and shoved it back in with the root wad sticking up. Now, I know some people claim that they think it was loggers that have done that, but some of these are being found in areas where there's no way you could have gotten heavy equipment in there to do it. Granted, I'm sure loggers get bored and play pranks, but I don't think that's the case. There have been ones found here in the Mark Twain in areas that have never been logged.
Yeah.
What do you think of tree structures? What do you think they mean, and what kind of structures have you found?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different meanings, I think. Like with what you're talking about, the upside down trees,
Mhm.
I think that's a show of dominance to other Sasquatch.
I think it's very territorial.
Oh yeah, because they are territorial. I'll tell you that right now. I've found, of course, twists. Trees that are just twisted and not. I found checkerboard or hashtags. They've made hashtags. Of course, teepees. From small as 3 feet tall to from 60-foot tall teepees, like with 9 trees at the very top. All leaning on the same one. There's areas where it just looks like a mayhem, where there's just tree over tree over tree over tree over tree over tree over tree. I mean, like a jungle gym. And those ones I believe they're using for hunting. They corral elk or deer into those areas, and they can't get through it quick because they're like, oh shit, can't go this way, and all they need is a few of them, and they're all over them. There's some structures where you'll have one long big log going between trees that are bending in, holding it, over and over and over and over. Those ones they use as perches. It makes the wood strong enough to hold them up, to see farther distances. I've seen some structures that look like they're made for the babies, like little nurseries. I'm sure if the babies want to get out with a can, but they're listening to their mom and their big scary ass dads, not to get out of those, little deals they got there. There's doorways, what I call doorways, that enter the forest, where you'll get the bent tree or 2 of them bending to each other or going out this way. Those are doorways I call them, because to me they're really doorways. That's how I find my areas. I'll literally I'll drive around the forest, just driving around and looking, and I'll be able to see a doorway. Pull over, okay, follow it. Structure, and the deeper you go, the more complex they end up being. I found some structures that people will be like, oh, that's man-made. That's just too cool. That's just too perfect. Bigfoots can't do stuff like that because they're big monkeys. They can only do rudimentary hieroglyphics with wood, you know. But yeah, it another odd, interesting thing that I've found where many different forests that I've traveled to is they'll literally do it what looks like a fence system, but with just a log laying down next to another log, set up in squares, and like a whole. If I got like a drone and looked down on it, it would look like if you went and saw a neighborhood, the streets all lined out, in properties, but like that in the forest, lined up. Really odd,
like they're establishing the border of their territory or something like that.
Sort of, but they do it to where they're like almost like if you're looking at a house, there's little rooms. You know what I mean? Like there's some that are only 20 feet wide by 20 feet. Some are 30 by 30 feet. Some are, you know what I mean? They're not huge to where you'd be like, this is my area. It's almost, I don't know. I really don't know, because some of the stuff they do is ceremonial. We don't know if they know how to manipulate the energy from the earth in any way, just with divining rods. We know that the energy's there. We know now that sound, words give off energy and can change matter. We know that certain symbols that you can draw or make on the ground give off certain energies, just those shapes and mathematics and, tones. And so it's really hard to say which is which. The big giant X's that we find, usually, from what I can tell, that's where they don't want you to go. And that's not for humans to see. That's for other Bigfoots. You know what I mean? We got to remember that. They're not doing it for us, so it trips them out when they run into people that know what those are, and how to follow the trails.
They're marking their set.
Yeah. Whenever I started looking into some of the tree structures and the different formations that were made, the first thing that came to my mind is, do you remember the old Apache trail markers, how they would leave stones in certain patterns to let the next guy know there's safe water here. This is the direction we went. And the Apache could look at the layout of stones and know the message.
Yeah.
And the cavalry never figured that out. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Like it was some sort of territorial message, like, safe water to drink here, safe to sleep here, that kind of thing. And we also hear about Bigfoot stacking rocks in formations, which is, again, a throwback to those Apache trail markers.
Yep. Exactly.
And the Apache weren't the only tribe to use that, but they were the first that I'd heard about.
Yeah, well, that's why I say it's so important on your viewpoint of what Bigfoot is, okay, and their mentality. Because, like, say, you wanted to find a murderer, right? It's a human, but you'd want to find an officer that knows what is going inside a murderer's mind, you'd like to know their capabilities. So then once you know the capabilities, then you know exactly how far you need to put your feelers out on what could be possibly going on in this situation, So if you go out thinking that a Bigfoot's just a big dumb bear, or just a regular animal, then you're only going to challenge yourself and it as far as an animal would be challenged and go to hunt it.
I wonder if what we refer to as the rule of 3 applies to Bigfoot as well. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. I wonder if that would apply to them as well.
I think in a different
it can be
cubed, maybe cubed or squared. You know what I mean? I think they're able to handle everything that we can handle way better. Pick any one of them, just for the reason of the distances they travel at high speed, nonstop. You know what I mean? It's we can't do that. We can. There's the what is it? What is the tribe's name? The Anahuacu. They're out here near Juarez, in Mexico, in this area, and they can run 300 miles straight, no problem, nonstop. Get there, turn around, and run back. Nonstop, barefoot, no problem.
Was it the Apache whose rite of passage was they had to run for a full day with a mouthful of water and have to at the end of the run still? Was it? I think it was the Apache.
It's possibly it's one of their traditions.
Rites of passage. You had to be able to cross a vast distance and have a mouthful of water, and when you arrive, still have that mouthful of water.
Yep. So these guys over here, they're being used for drug running by the cartels because they can run 100, 200, 300 miles, 2 days straight, nonstop, no problem. But yeah, so in those rare instances of humans, people that run a 27-mile marathon, they're like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? That's amazing. Which my big old butt ain't running no 27 miles, but I'm just saying, compared to what the Bigfoots can do, these Bigfoots are running 100 miles, 120 miles, 100, in one day.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Yeah, there's
on
lots
the regular.
of stories of people that have encountered them in the woods or in their research areas, and then it turned up at their house later.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, if they're able to do that, may it be in snow, in heat, in any of these things, I'm guessing they could go a little longer than the average human, with the 3 rule you're saying. Yeah, because even though we're like, well, common sense and medically and anatomically, something that large must intake this specific amount of nutrients to be able to fart on the weekend, whatever. Humans can do amazing things too beyond what we're supposed to be capable of, versus like me versus a Navy SEAL. They can hold their breath a lot longer than I can. You know what I mean? So when you've got a being that's pure muscle, that this is the way they live on the normal, they're able to withstand sub-zero temperatures without putting on pants or shoes or anything like that. And then on the flip side, be able to handle the Sahara, our deserts, like nothing, I can only imagine what they're able to, how long they can last without certain things.
It's really, I guess it would depend on their metabolism, which we have no way of knowing. Doc, what do you think?
I mean, something like that with their caloric requirements. I mean, you think about us. I mean, 2,000 calorie a day diet, is what is the given thing. But something that could weigh upwards of, 1,000 pounds, 1,200 pounds. I couldn't even imagine the caloric requirements. I mean, shit. I mean, look at Michael Phelps. This cat, when he was peak training, he was consuming 10,000 calories a day. I mean, and he's a human being, athlete, of course.
Well,
and
the guy they call the Mountain from Game of Thrones, his daily
Yeah.
caloric intake is like 20,000 calories.
Yeah, and so it's like Jesus was saying, these dudes are like they're built for that. This is the everyday life. So their caloric intake. I mean, and the way they're built, I think there's a way their body probably rations it out.
Yeah,
process to process it to give it a time release type of thing. That way they're still effective. They're still the most effective. They're probably the most effective metabolic machine that we have on this planet.
Look at the research they've done, even with like the military. Every so many years when they redesign, rations, combat rations. You look at what a 200-pound Marine needs while he's carrying a 80-pound ruck, number of calories he has to use, as opposed to my fat ass sitting at a desk starting IVs.
Right.
It just he's just going to burn through more.
Yeah.
Even though we may be about the same size, just because of what they're used to doing. Like Jesus said, if these guys are humping at 100 miles a day, Christ, how much are they putting down?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing. You ready? All right, here we go, guys. Now, if we're thinking historically, in ancient historically, because we wonder what are they, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're at the point in humanity and technology to where now we can make designer babies, right? So from our research, as ancient alien theorists believe that we were not that stupid in the past, that ancient civilizations had high technology. Okay, so if these beings they were made, designed for specific work, okay, then what says that how they were designed doesn't go against what we think is natural or possible for a creature? Well, it'd be like, grabbing the Avengers and trying to compare an Avenger to a regular human, their processing system, their calorie intake, how they expend energy, how they, hold energy.
Yeah.
That's where I get. I'm like, well, that's the only problem is now we're looking at it like a gorilla, and how much gorilla eats, okay, and their strength, but we're not dealing with a gorilla. We're dealing with something completely different that we don't understand. So what if they were created and they were made specifically to handle more heat, to handle cold temperatures? They've got the little DNA. Let me move that over here. Okay, now you only have, if you eat this much, it'll give you this much energy. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you think about it, man. It's like if you do there's a calculation I can't remember from nutrition class, but it was like you can gauge what somebody's caloric requirements are by how much muscle mass they have. Yeah. That's for human beings. That may not. That's completely blown out of the water with these cats because they process it differently. That's my theory.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And like I said, we just got to keep our minds open to the possibilities and the impossibilities that we don't understand.
I mean, how the ranchers breed cattle? They want the best breeding stock, mm-hmm. to have the best bloodline.
Racing horses.
Yeah,
dogs.
Yeah,
dogs were basically started out as domesticated wolves, and over the prevailing centuries, they bred different species for specific wants and needs, and now we've got so many different breeds of dogs that 10,000 years ago didn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, even a champion. Even if you go to a deer farm, look at some of these deer farms that they're growing these deer with these massive antlers for their genetics. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I've taught some medical classes at some deer ranches down in Texas, and they have a biologist on staff to give them mm-hmm. the best racks, the best bloodlines, mm-hmm. man.
So I think it would be really cool for us to all do at some point to make a like a. You know how you get baseball cards or basketball cards on the back that give you the stats, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if we went through all the research we could to find physical feats that have been reported. Okay, mm-hmm. So in the 60s they were known to flip over bulldozers and cats. Mm-hmm. Those machines.
Right.
Let's find out how much that weighs exactly.
Drums down a mountainside.
Yeah, exactly. Find out those weights. They were, another story where a Bigfoot jumped across a whole river, didn't touch the river, or jumped up a cliff.
Well, there's one we've got on footage where one of them throws like a 30-foot tree like a javelin.
Yeah. Just goes whip with one arm like nothing. Just and
if I'm not mistaken, even what D.A. Fred said, if I'm not mistaken, in Alaska, they jump from tree to tree. They're from his stories. They're in the trees, just jumping back and forth like crazy.
So if you do, like you say, if we were to compare them with chimpanzees, billy apes, gorillas, the chimpanzee, when it's pissed off, it can throw 500 pounds. Gorilla, when it's pissed off, it can throw 1,500 pounds. So now, if we're going by that ratio, right?
It's gonna build exponentially, man. Absolutely.
Oh man! So when you get into the 12, 15 foot, 20 foot world, holy crap! We're seeing Bigfoots pull trees out of the ground that are undead, mm-hmm. just and walking around doopy doopy doo. You know what I mean? It's like the strength involved is going beyond what we would imagine would be normal for just a primate.
Yeah, I mean, if it
Something's off.
Right.
if it can
You
pick
know?
up a 15 to 1800 pound steer like a snack pack, then yeah,
Yeah.
Or
How
tear
much-
the leg off a horse.
that blew
Yeah,
my
right.
mind. It's like,
exactly.
you know,
rip
I
all those
literally
tendons and ligaments.
Oh.
Jesus.
go like I said, go buy a whole chicken, all right, and try to pull off parts.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Just-
during World War II, the Nazis did some pretty crazy research. One would argue the ethics of what they did,
Yeah.
Right.
but I
The
bet
research
you,
is there.
well, the research was there, right? For whatever purpose, the research was there.
Yeah.
It takes a hell of a lot of force to disarticulate a leg on a person.
Let
Okay, a
alone
person
an
weighs,
equine.
an average, 200 pounds.
Yeah.
A horse,
Right.
1,000,
At
1,200?
least
Easy.
Easy. Yeah.
And just to
Yeah.
rip it off.
It's like
and
when they're teaching
the front
trauma
leg
classes.
is less muscle dense than the rear leg. To rip that rear leg off,
Yep.
holy crap!
Yeah, and they've done that to cows. You know what I'm saying? They find
When you look
goats.
at
20
trauma
I've
Mhm.
heard
classes,
stories of cows having their heads twisted around
Yeah.
backwards.
Mhm.
That's a
when you look at,
tremendous amount. of
you're triaging somebody for like a class 1 trauma, and you see that they have a broken femur. Okay, you know that person has seen a lot of force to
Absolutely.
break that femur. So then you're immediately looking at, okay, what else is wrong on the inside?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what I teach in my classes. I mean, look, man, I said, if you've got a broken bone, a femur's like concrete, literally. And that's a lot of force to be,
Snap it. Yep.
yeah, to snap it.
Imagine the horse bone, the cow bone. You know,
Holy
it's like,
crap,
son
man.
of a gun.
Yeah, because they're finding these bones snapped in half with all the marrow sucked out of them.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's not something a bear or a coyote could do. They would have to chew through the bone to get to the marrow. You'd find
Yep.
one end chewed off, or it chewed apart in the middle, not snapped.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to snap a bone that big, that's a lot of force. I mean, for one of us to do it, we'd have to we'd put one end between a couple of large rocks,
Yeah.
and then beat on the other end to snap it. Because those big femur bones, holy crap, they're
Yeah.
big.
Or bridge it between two things and stomp in the middle. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
We used to do that with hog bones, and when I was playing with my cousins and stuff on the farm, like, oh yeah, we found this bone in the woods. Let's see what we can do to break it.
Well, I found deer bones in the woods that have been snapped in half.
Mm.
That wasn't uncommon. And the other night when we had the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group on, they were talking about finding deer bones broken in the woods that had been snapped in half, and the
Right.
marrow sucked out, and then the bone shoved into the ground. Like something,
Shoved.
well, I'm done with that piece, and then shove it into the ground. That's not something a bear or,
Right.
or a wolf or a mountain lion would do.
Like humans
Damn.
turning over shot glasses at the bar,
Right.
Yeah.
How about that
Yeah.
one?
It's something interesting that I haven't touched upon too much is when Dr. Dyer, Christopher Dyer was here with me when we did our expedition. He's the head of anthropology at the university, and I asked him because I go hunting not just for Bigfoot but for fossils and old artifacts from different civilizations, and
Mhm.
I've been collecting hammers and axes and these tools from the Neolithic times and just long time ago. And I asked him, I said, good doctor, what would be the average size of for the local natives here, Navajo, Apache, whatever? How big is the tomahawk, would you say? How big is a hammer that they would use, the stone, in the Stone Age, et cetera, et cetera, And he showed me you're looking at about something like that for the average sized man, to work with. You're not going to want to go too huge because then you can't swing it, Well, I've found huge hammers and huge axes, stone that show you can see where they were tied and everything. Some of them were so big that I couldn't even pick them up off the ground. I'm 6'3", 350-pound guy, and I can lift heavy things. But to where I can't even pick it up. That's the axe head. try swinging it. What giant creature person was using all these tools that I found?
I talked to a guy up here a number of years ago who had found a arrowhead that had been flint knapped that was wider than his hand, and he said he was Cherokee. He said our people would have used this for anything. It's too big for a spear.
Exactly. So I showed him these things, and he was like, where did you get these? And I was like, just right down the street from where I live. Every time the rains come, the creek runs and new things pop up. And when it dries out, I go out there and see what I find, And it was just this. Like I said, at a certain point in history, these beings used to use tools. Normally,
I think in some cases they still do.
Yeah, and there was I think there was a war because the amount of these things I found in this area, there had to have been like a war or something happened. Because I mean, I've got, I would say, 12 tubs, big tubs, of these artifacts, huge tubs, just tons of them. I mean, every time I go out there, I come back with a full load of these. Actually, I'm gonna make a video with showing them. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's just let me look around the room real quick. I have some stuff out right now. Let me go look real quick. Okay, I'll be right back, and I'll give you an example of the odd things that I find.
Doc, up in your neck of the woods, there are not just Bigfoot sightings, but Wendigo sightings, correct?
Yeah, Wendigo, Bigfoot, Dogman. We've had a little bit of them all out here, especially when you get down towards the Four Corners area. You see a lot more of that activity. But yeah, up near Steamboat, Yampa, up in that area, there's been a lot of the weird sightings up there. Typically up towards the western slope area, if you head more towards Grand Junction. But I mean, there's even been some stuff out here in El Paso County, Wendigo, Bigfoot up near, they said up near Pikes Peak. This one guy said he and a buddy were getting paralleled by something. And then his description kind of matched a Wendigo. And then like my daughter, when she went to a summer camp thing, they said there were stories. They said, hey, y'all do not go outside the buildings, past the buildings after dark. If you go somewhere after dark, make sure you got a buddy, make sure you got a flashlight, all that kind of stuff. It was, she was like, yeah, it was a little bit scary, but that was some of the sightings, because she finally got one of the people who had been there for a few years and was a counselor, said, yeah, there was something called a Wendigo they were talking about up here. And I was like, huh.
There was a Wendigo encounter story I heard from a hunter that was up in the mountains of Wyoming. And he said that he kept hearing what he thought was an elk bugling, but it sounded odd. And so he started following it. And when he started getting closer to it, it stepped out into a clearing, and it was on two legs. It was gaunt and had white skin, and it turned and looked at him, and it had like an elk's head with antlers on it. Said it was easily 10 to 12 feet tall. And when it looked right at him, he got the hell out of there.
Yep, time to go.
He thought, at first he thought it was an elk club because the bugling sounded like an elk bugle. He said it sounded odd, but he still thought it was an elk.
Man, I hope I was wearing my brown pants that day. That's for damn sure.
Okay, guys. So this right here, I don't know if you guys can, I'm trying to, so you can see where it was tied. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And it goes all the way through. So this would be, I'm going to put it right in front of my face so you can see the size. That would be the size that you would be about the maximum size you'd want to go to be able to use it.
Yeah.
The hammer or axe, swinging it. Okay. So then you got this. I'll put it in front of my face. This is a hammer. A very large, like a sledgehammer almost. So you can see where it's been used on this. Okay. Watch out. Hold on. Oh, no, here's another one. Oh. Here is an axe. It's kind of like the first one I showed you, but
holy
Jesus
hell.
Christ.
Yeah.
That is freaking huge.
Yeah. And you can see where it's been used and it's hit things, you know. And I have way bigger ones. Okay,
Wow.
way
Bigger ones?
Yeah.
Holy shit snacks, man.
That attached to a stick large enough to support it?
Like a tree.
How the heck are you going to swing that?
Exactly.
You
know what I mean? Yeah. You know, there's one I have out front that the shape of it goes like kind of thin, then comes out, and then comes out. I mean, it's cool. Something like that, but stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so at some point.
Well, just compare that axe head to this.
Yeah.
This is a boarding axe from Scallywag Tactical. This is a heavy piece of equipment. I mean, it's solid steel. This is heavy enough. The head on that thing, it was 4 times as thick and probably 5 times the size of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd legit have to have a small tree wrapped around that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
just to swing that, and and say somebody's like, well, maybe they just held it in their hand and whacked things.
I don't care even holding it. Okay, I'm a decent sized guy. I'm 250 pounds. You got 100 pounds on me, Jesus. Damn.
Yeah.
You were struggling with that.
I would not want to swing that a lot.
Oh, hell no. I want to swing it once.
You have to have freaking forearms like Popeye to swing that very much.
I would say that weighs, I'd give it 3 sledgehammers. But the weight of three sledgehammers, the heads of them.
That's heavy.
Yeah. And just for making, making corn, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's more than you would need. You don't to grind
something got
powder,
hit with that. You
don't need a rock any bigger than a baseball. I mean, that's all you really need. Lene Perkins had a question. It says, DA, speaking of Wendigos, when's your audible wild hunt about Wendigos going to be released? I've been trying to get hold of Cam. He's just been super busy. In his day job, he's just been rocked busy. I'm hoping he'll have it done very soon. I know he just finished one audiobook he was working on. So I will shoot him a message probably in the morning because I know he's already in bed. He goes to bed with the chickens. So I'll shoot him a message in the morning and see if I can't find out and get an update on that. So we should have that one out in audio soon. And I know Sal Passos is working on the second of my sci-fi, and hopefully those will both be out soon.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I have to drop off. I'm afraid here. The dogs are getting restless and the wife's trying to get them put down for the night. So unfortunately, their kennel room is my office. So
all right, brother. Steve, thanks for being here, man.
Good night, sir.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Jesus. Thanks for a fun time, and hope to meet you in person one of these days.
For sure. Definitely.
Bye-bye.
I know we normally stop around the 2-hour mark, but I'm having a great time with this and talking about a lot of great stuff. If you don't mind still going, Jesus, well, we'll go for a little bit longer.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now you said you found those along riverbanks?
Well, right here in La Luz Creek, where I live, it goes straight up into our mountains, that creek bed, and it's usually, I'd say 20% full, but like I said, it's so dry out here.
Yeah, it's arid country out there.
Yeah.
Now, what's the biggest one you found?
The biggest one I found, I would compare it to the bucket on a wheelbarrow.
Wow.
And it had been worked?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
It had marks. Huh?
How much do you think it weighed?
I would say easily between 300 and 400 pounds.
Holy crap.
Those aren't used.
Not even Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Those are not used by Native Americans.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's what when I showed that these ones that aren't as big to the anthropology, the doctor, and he was just like, that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like right here, let me grab another one that's really odd looking, but makes no sense for the average.
Hey, DA and Doc, stay on after the show. Got to talk to you guys about some stuff. that's coming
Okay.
up,
All right.
especially Doc.
Okay,
on.
so here's two more. Like I said, this one would be usable. This is like at the edge of, they don't go usually any bigger than this, okay? So right here, you can see the shape. So this part would go inside wood.
Yeah, it's
Right.
definitely been
And
worked.
this would stop the wood, you know what I mean? From
And then it'd be bound with sinew or
yeah,
something along those lines.
right?
That's kind of
So-
common size right there, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be where you're as big as you want to get. You know what I mean? To use well, and it's still, not light, but then you got these.
Right.
Holy crap.
Jesus.
Yes.
I mean,
Here
that
is where it was tied.
was good. That was
Right?
good.
It was tied right there.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
that was too big to be comfortably swung.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
For somebody to use something like that, and I know this is kind of alluding towards something that a project that you and I discussed. That is something like the Tubbies would use, the Choctaw who were like 7 feet tall.
Yeah. So between
Right.
7 and 8 feet tall. Yeah, that's something that would be normal for that guy.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
it would take somebody that big to swing something that size. And back in the 1800s, and God knows when those were actually formed, but even back in the 1800s, the average height of most Native Americans was about 5'5", 5'6".
So what used in this area when you think about this area, what do we have here? We're finding Bigfoots, right?
Mhm.
White Sands right down the street. We're finding this place was completely filled with megafauna.
Yeah.
So you've got what's Bigfoot? Megafauna, right? Technically,
Right.
if you want to add that to the
It's
group out here.
Gigantopithecus, then it's
Yeah.
surviving megafauna.
We had giant camels here. We had giant iguana. We had the sloths here. We
Mhm.
had, you name it, we had it out here. So there was a ecosystem that required, if you're going to hunt these giant fauna, you're going to need
Big
some
weapons.
giant weapons,
Yeah.
Well, they
or
also
against
had
each
a,
other.
Had a giant megafauna version of a mandrill, kind of a baboon type creature.
Yeah.
That if it adapted to walk on two legs would look very much like what they call a gugway now.
Mhm.
Yep. So yeah, it's this is the cool thing though. In my research across New Mexico and other places where I look for these artifacts, the cool thing is I found these artifacts because once you know these tools and what they look like,
Mhm.
they jump out at you when you're out looking. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I've not only found them huge, I found them real small.
I would like to find one of those
Little
big
ones.
ones for my shelf in my
Mhm.
office.
I've got plenty, brother. I'll let you
Curiosities
have
like
one.
that for my office.
I got quite a few. You ever come out here, I'll give you something cool.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, I found little ones, little baby tomahawks, little baby hammers, and they've been used. And it's not like little kids, doing like little kid stuff.
Like too small.
Yeah, they're to where they were little tiny things. Like I said, there was I don't know if it was like Lord of the Rings, and there was a great war out here between every size being that was out here, but their tools are all in this damn stream, littered.
There was a place I used to go camping a lot, and it used to be a campground. Well, it was a primitive campground, but they closed it down. It's owned by a private individual now, and you can't go out there. There's a place here in Missouri called Moon Valley, and it's along the Niangua River. And when we used to camp there, we used to find arrowheads and stone fish hooks all along the Niangua, especially after it had flooded. But it's a beautiful place. I shot a video for it it's on my Patreon. But the Moon Valley is a really cool place, and we used to find, but they were just standard size. They weren't like massive.
Yeah, well, they found that one guy that they interviewed. I guess it was on a Cherokee or Navajo reservation. They found the bronze spearheads that were huge. I mean, that a regular human could not pick up.
Yeah.
I mean, the spearhead, it was massive. And they were talking about the giants of Kandahar with the spearheads that they were using, but they found it here in the United States also. And when they showed it to one of the special op guys that they interviewed, he goes, "That's the same size that speared one of the soldiers with in the story." Now, why are they finding these giant, bronze spearheads? Because they weren't using, at the time, I guess it was known that they were using bronze, not copper at the time.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I mean, the stuff that they're finding, and no one could explain it.
Yep.
I mean, that's like, you would have to be at least 10 foot, 8 foot tall, 400 or 500 pounds to wheel that thing like a hammer. Like we would, a regular hammer just to use. I'm sorry,
Anthony. I didn't mean to talk over you there.
No, it's okay, man. I was,
If I remember correctly, they found large artifacts like that near Acoma.
Mm-hmm.
And they're uncovering all kinds of stuff at Acoma. If those of you are not familiar with Acoma, it's a city in New Mexico that's basically long been abandoned. It's up on top of a mesa. And it was basically just abandoned centuries ago, and the archaeologists are still learning stuff about it. They call it Sky City, and I don't even know how they got up there because they basically had to use climbing equipment to get up there in the first place.
Yep.
To have a city of that size and scale on top of a mesa, that's pretty impressive,
Right.
especially with Stone Age technology, because most of it is all worked stone.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, some of that stuff you have is massive. That's just crazy, man. I can't imagine. I mean, really. I mean, it can't be done. I mean, they're not. Regular Native Americans are not using that size. I mean,
no, definitely not.
That's just nuts. Really.
Right.
I mean, mysteries of the world.
So another thing is, like, you hear in a lot of the wild man stories and ancient stories of in the wood woes and all them that the Bigfoots would take wives, humans,
Right.
And the occasional female Bigfoot would take a dude, sometimes. But they were getting pregnant, they were having children, That's where I had mentioned before that we can't make a lockbox of what we think Bigfoot looks like.
No.
Just because, who was that one boxer from Russia, 7'3", 7'4" giant? He looked like he was Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal. His skull. And if you looked at his skull and you had found that skull and didn't know that it was fresh, you would not think that belonged to a modern human being, And the same thing with Bigfoots is, there's been so many descriptions of some of them that had, protruding mouths, like the chimps, versus non-protruding, just like us. Some Bigfoots have been described to look just like, literally like me, with a beard, some hair up here, and a hairy chest and a hairy back.
Right.
There's a lot of different descriptions, which leads me to think there are probably multiple types of Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
Now, some people have classified as the 10 types of Bigfoot or things like that. But if you look around the world at the different locations where these types of creatures have been described, in the Middle East, around Afghanistan, they've got the Barmanu. In China, they've got the Yeren and the Yeren and it's the Alma and the Almasti. In Australia, they've got the Yowie. In Siberia, they've got Almas. They've got the Yeren. There's all kinds of these creatures described all over the world. In the mountains of Scotland, the Grey Man of the Cairngorms, the Grey Man of the Cairngorm Mountains. They're described everywhere on every continent except Antarctica. But we're not really allowed to explore Antarctica. So
there was actually a report in Antarctica of giant beings that they said were in a cave that attacked some of the individuals.
Really? If you can find a link to that,
I'll look for that. Yeah,
I'd love to read that.
Well, yeah, so that's because I did a video showing the different continents. Because I was Bigfoot, intercontinental, and I made a little skit from the Continental from Saturday Night Live, Christopher Walken. Yeah, so I made a Bigfoot, the Continental. Well, yeah, I touch upon all the different places around the world where there have been a bunch that you mentioned, you know.
Yeah, the
But
Mapinguari, which is more like a bipedal sloth, but it still fits into that description. Of course, here in the United States, you've got the skunk apes that are in the swamps of the South. The skunk apes seem to be very like chimp or orangutan like.
yeah,
And then you've
Orangutan,
got
yeah.
others that are very like Cro-Magnon man like, very humanoid, but don't really look like a chimp or a gorilla. They look more human. And the ones that they saw in Northern California are described very differently than the ones they described here in the Ozarks. Also, the ones here in the Ozarks tend to be freaking aggressive for some reason.
Yeah.
Well,
So
perfect example, DA. Look at the story that Cam read a couple months ago when that guy wrote him. He was a county Mountie. You know, he went to a call, and the call was that there was a kid running in a field, naked. And he went out on the call, didn't see it, left the call, got a call the next day for the same thing, asked the dispatcher for the lady's address that's seeing this. He goes there, and next thing you know, it's a joint operation with United States and Canada that they're tracking these Bigfoot that have abducted women and children, and they're, giving birth to these offspring hybrids.
Yep.
So the guy is so disturbed by it, he retires and moves to Florida, but he tells this story that's in detail.
Yeah.
That he went to a call on a missing person, a little girl, years and years ago, like 15, 20 years ago. And they never found her. They tracked her in the woods, and the dog stopped tracking her, and they wouldn't go beyond this point. Well, it so happened to be this woman that they captured in the field with these babies was the girl that was kidnapped 20 years ago that gave birth to an offspring. Now, how true is that story? I don't know, but it's same thing what you're talking about with these things are grabbing people, that they're interbreeding and stuff.
What falls right into line with a lot of Native American lore, especially up in the Pacific Northwest, of them coming into camps at nights or and taking people right out of their teepees, abducting women and children. And sometimes
there was a lot of that in South America too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's really, really important for us as researchers to not just say that we know all Bigfoots are a cookie cutter type.
Right.
They can't be this tall. They can't be this small. They can't have arms that are this long, or they have to be this long. Their gait has to be a certain way. Yeah, I consider there's maybe an average of a certain group of them, but they're so different across the world that we can't throw the bath water. Was it the baby with the bath water?
Yeah, the baby with the bath water.
Well, prime example.
Look at the wide variety of people. I mean, humans, there might be a human average, but there are so many people that are all, like if you put me next to Shaquille O'Neal, I'd look like a toddler.
Yep. Prime example.
Holding his hand walking down the street.
DA will contest to this because we've seen it. I mean, look at Bigfoot Odyssey, Mark and Carrie. Okay. Look at the stuff Mark Zasky's getting, all the different faces out there, all the different body structures, the stuff that they're getting. I mean, not all of them are looking the same. Yeah. They got one that looks like Bruce, like they call it Bruce Banner, the Hulk. They got one that looks like the chimp. They got one that looks more human. I mean, like the one I seen out in that area looked more human. It looked like Aborigine. That's what it looked like, Native American almost. So there's so many different kinds. I mean, the stuff they're getting, explains it better too. That they're getting all these different faces and body structures. Nope. It's nuts.
Well, just like the two that looked at my tent, completely different features. Completely that you would not think they were homies hanging out looking at people's tents together. You know what I mean? They don't look like brothers. They don't look like cousins. They have very specific looks, and we can't, like I said, we can't just say, well, my face fits in that face. Well, it has to be a hoax.
Right. I mean, look, Todd Standing's pictures. If they're real, that's good. That's good evidence.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah,
two
they're
different
going
kind
to
of
come down on
pieces.
both sides on the standing images.
Right.
And I would like to get Todd on the show to talk about those images because I'm not gonna say what I think one way or the other. He was there, I wasn't. However, if those images that Todd Standing has captured are real, he has captured the clearest images anybody has ever captured.
Okay, let me ask you guys the question. What are your thoughts on how much do you trust the opinion of the late Dr. Bendernagel?
Well, I would say it was as close to an expert as you're ever going to find in this field.
Yeah.
Okay. And he went out there with Todd and he got to see other footage and other photos that we haven't got to see.
Right.
And he concluded that it's not bullcrap. Those aren't fake.
Les Stroud was the same way.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, now, the one thing they all...
Dr. Jeff
Meldrum, yeah.
Meldrum, that we had on the show. Same thing. You know, he had an experience out there.
They weren't, Todd wasn't their favorite person, or
no.
They said he's real pushy, he's a little too passionate, but all these things that people want to complain about Todd, because I don't know the dude, I'd love to talk to him, but regardless of how he handles stuff and his attitude, I could care less. I could care less about that part of that man. That's his life, is private, whatever. What I give a crap about is the research,
right?
The evidence. You know what I mean? And we just can't throw out everything because we heard this or we think this person's an ass. You know what I mean? And like when you talk to him, if you can get him on the show, ask him about how you can use the needles of the tree to measure against the beam, the Bigfoot.
I'll tell you what, if we manage to get him, which if we do, it'll be Anthony. Anthony's the king of getting people. If we do manage to get him, you are welcome to come on with us.
I would love it. I would love it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But then I could talk about, Michael McCormick, explaining that that's not a puppet, that's not animatronic, and definitely not CGI. People have no idea what it takes for CGI. And the best shows we have on Bigfoot, they can't pull it off.
Right.
Their CGI is obvious as hell.
Right.
One thing everybody needs to remember, and I know there's a lot of conjecture among the Bigfoot community about whose research is the right research, and people argue back and forth about what they call the woo or other stories. One thing people got to remember is it's really easy to criticize something from behind a keyboard. It's a totally different thing when you're out there. I have been out there many, many, many times, and I've seen weird crap that I was not able to get on camera. Yeah. Just because I couldn't get it on camera or audio recorder doesn't mean it didn't happen. In the case of Todd Standing, I don't know the man. I wasn't there. I can't say with 100% certainty that the images are legit or fake. I don't know. Exactly. The fact of the matter is there are people with far more experience than me, like Bendernagel, who came down on the side of all that stuff being real. So that establishes a good deal of credibility. In my opinion.
There's more proof to it being real than there is actual proof of being a hoax.
Right.
Beyond a GIF.
And though there are those people out there, and Jesus, this as well as I do, they are not going to believe anything until you drag them face to face with one. Yeah. Like the guy that gave you that brand new tent. Yep. He didn't believe in any of that until he looked up and saw it looking at him through the flap of the tent.
Right.
And the dude's 100% believer now and will not go back out there.
Nope.
That's the case with so many people. Anthony
look at me.
Was not a believer until he saw his.
I did not believe it one bit, man.
Nope. And that happens so much. People are like, no, that's all BS. That doesn't happen. And then they see one and they're like, you know what? I'm not going back out there.
Yeah. A changed skeptic is turned into the truest believer. That's for sure.
Right.
And I'm I'm a firm believer. Well, I think I would consider myself more of a knower than a believer. But regardless of that, it's not going to stop me from going out there because I guess my desire to know what's going on outweighs my desire for self-preservation.
Right? I got the same problem.
My mother used to tell me when I was a small child that I would blunder in where angels feared to tread, and that's kind of been the motto of my life.
Yep.
Ask my wife.
There's so much. Everybody has to just get along and like you said, just get the research together, not try to outdo each other and put each other down. And I got this and you don't, and
Tony
like
Harris Tony Harris just hit it on the head. He says, I've had deer run out in front of me multiple times, but I never got it on camera. So deer don't exist.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
That's 100%.
That's like I tell people, the real knuckleheads I deal with, they're just, like this. I tell them, okay, look, I know you don't believe in whatever the topic is I'm talking about, right? And they're just like, okay, whatever, and I'm like, you got to understand. You go on a freeway, and you don't believe in Mack trucks, and you just stand there, it's still going to hit you.
Exactly.
Whether you believe it or
it's
not.
like,
That's true.
It's like what Carrie Arnold said it the other night. 30 million deer supposedly in the United States. How often do you see a deer?
Especially if you're hunting one.
30 million deer in the United States, right? And you're telling me you rarely, come on.
There's more tigers in the United States than anywhere else in the world.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How many people got, besides at a zoo, and they're not at the zoos, they're not all at the zoos. How many have you seen,
Where you live, Jesus, the South American jaguar is making its way back up, up to New Mexico and Arizona. People are catching it on game cams here and there, but, oh no, they don't exist. They're extinct and we killed them. Well, we did, but how many survived supposedly that, now they're making a comeback, It's the same with the Florida panther.
Missouri, and that's not something I'm proud of. The early settlers of Missouri exterminated wolves in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, there hadn't been a wolf sighting in Missouri in 150 years. Now, in northern Missouri, wolves have made their way back. They're coming down from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and those areas up there, but wolves are back. And there are unconfirmed reports that they may even be as far south as where I'm at. And now, I think that those stories are true because I've heard them. I've heard wolves at night in the woods. And, the Missouri Department of Conservation is like, well, there's no wolves in southwest Missouri. Well, I've heard them. Now, it's either a Dogman or a wolf or somebody with a really convincing howl.
It's crazy. You're not going to get the truth, even when, even though what they said about the Florida panther. Florida panther is a mountain lion. All it did was adapt to its environment. It's the same DNA. How many Florida panthers are in Florida? Now they're catching them in Louisiana, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. They're just boom. They're spreading all out. But they're not going to tell you how many panthers are in Florida. I'm sure there's millions of them. No, I'm sure there's millions of them. And everybody, a black panther. No, a black panther, all it is the genetics of the pigment of their. That's all it is. It's a panther still. It's not a mystical Black Panther creature that everybody thinks it is, and that's what makes me crazy. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's a Black Panther," and it's rare because of their pigment. It's still a Florida panther.
Black Panthers in Missouri. Right. I saw one when I was a kid. In fact, one killed my cousin John's coon dog.
Right. So you're not going to get the truth. You're not going. They're not going to come out and tell you. Look at the population in South Florida with the iguanas and snakes, the python that are just rapidly taking over. Come on. Well, you can make a living hunting pythons.
Bigfoot's never going to ever go hungry anymore in the United States, at least, just because of the wild hogs, the wild boars.
Oh no,
there's so many. No.
know.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
they've got food all day. They ain't not hurting. You know.
I mean, even down here, even by you got the jabalina. You got the
Yep.
jabalina hogs. You know, I mean, Florida, Georgia,
Dangerous
Texas.
too.
I did
The
a video
hog
on those hogs and where they're at, you know, and they're everywhere the Bigfoots are. So they have an endless, you know, supply of food from besides the elk, besides the deer, besides, you know what I mean. And then they're omnivores too. So they're able to survive anywhere they want, and they know what they can eat and how to live off the land. You know.
Yeah, it's
crazy. You're
It's
never gonna get a
amazing what they're
straight
capable
answer.
of doing. Oh,
It is.
sorry, I was trying to keep up with the chat.
Yeah, with 3 hours. Wow, we're on 3 hours.
Holy crap! 3 hours has flown.
I didn't even realize that.
Yep.
Just looked up.
Maybe go another half hour. You guys are game.
Whatever.
I'm
good.
we can. I'm fading fast though, y'all. I ain't gonna lie.
He's going.
But I don't want to just go. Well, we're 3 hours. Let's wrap it up.
Doc's been busy.
Good
He's
night,
tired,
everybody.
man.
Was there any
Yeah.
is there any questions like from the chat anymore, or are they all gone?
That's what I was trying to
gonna
catch
ask.
up with. I was going to roll back a little bit and look at some of the questions.
Yeah, Miss Perkins had a good. You know, she had a comment about the black bears and panthers and stuff, but
Mhm.
I mean, nature's going to find a way, man. That's the way I look at it. Nature's going to find a way, and they're going to go back to their natural environment. I mean, we've got wolves that were released in Yellowstone back in the 80s down here in Colorado now.
right.
You know, so they're going to find a way.
No, we got oryx
Yeah.
down here from
The what?
Africa. The oryx.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
that's right. I heard about that.
Well, they're camels in southern Arizona.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna find look, South Florida the same thing. I mean, there's ocelots that got released from the zoo when Hurricane Andrew came through. I mean, they're cats. They're bigger than domestic cats, but they look like a miniature leopard. I mean, you know, they're running crazy. I don't know how big the population is. I seen one personally down there in the swamp. You know, I thought I was seeing things, but it was, you know, people have exotic animals, and you get a female and a male, they're going to find a way to repopulate.
Uh-huh.
Very true.
So it doesn't matter. You know,
To quote Jeff Goldblum, nature finds a way.
Yep.
exactly. You know, and South Florida is the perfect environment
question
for
for you.
tropical animals.
There's a question for you, Jesus. Mark
Okay.
Napier says, have you done any research in the Kentucky, Tennessee area?
I have not gone out there. I've just heard you know, different research out of there. But yeah, I'd love to go out there and do some research.
Right.
That's what my goal is, to travel across the United States, you know, to all these different places. Like, that's what I'm setting up to do. That's what I want to just be on the road, doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it's my dream to be able to one day outfit a big RV with equipment for research and everything I need for writing and
Yep.
just travel. That's
Exactly.
something I've wanted to do for years.
Yeah, I'm working on it. You know?
Hopefully, I'll be there one day myself.
Occasional movie, TV show here and there, you know. But my mainstay is this, because that's how people found out about it. Was I'd be interviewed for one of my movies or TV shows, and they're like, "So, Jesus Jr., what do you do between movies and TV shows?" And I'd be like, "On Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts." And they're like, "What?"
Right.
So when that
Right.
network started hearing, you know, my interviews, that's when I started getting the calls, you know, from people to go places and do shows.
Brian Marek asks, Jesus, what does Robert Kreider think about those tools you found?
Robert Crowder doesn't think anything about them because he hasn't looked at them. And we don't really research that much together anymore. Our research styles just don't seem to agree. I'll just say that. But
Sometimes that's the best that you can say. We just parted ways.
yeah, he has a lot of good research with them. But you know, I think it goes as a researcher. When you start cutting out people out of videos and you're in research, because I'm not sure what real good reason you had, but when you start doing that stuff and trying to leave out things so you could sound better or cooler or whatever, you're entering a dangerous place in research. Being a Bigfoot researcher, because if you're willing to let your ego control the output of actual experiences and research that could be valuable to the community, what else are you hiding? What else are you keeping from people?
Something I learned in law enforcement, you've got to make your theories fit the evidence, not the evidence fit your theories.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, that was a big issue was when we were hunting out with JC Johnson, and we are doing the submission for the DNA, for the Genome Project. And even while I was there, that's when I had a face-to-face encounter, was communicating with one and all that. And he just ignored it, didn't care. It annoyed him, and he got to brag about getting hit in the balls with a rock by a Bigfoot that didn't like him.
Ow.
You know what I mean? It's like, what led up to that, And it just bothered me, and that's why I was like, you know what? Don't let him go his way. The first time I went out hunting with him, he made it a point to go as fast as he could. I'm a big guy, so I can only hike for so long before I need to take a break or whatever. I have asthma. We got all kinds of things, going on with me, but left me behind in the middle of the dark in the bosque, with leg cramps. Didn't care, just kept on going. So that those few instances that out to dealt with, I just choose to not go out with him anymore. Got none but mad love for the man, and I wish him the best in all he does. And I hope all his research is true, and he shares whatever he needs to be sharing with us. But that's why he hasn't seen my rocks.
Well, I think we've seen kind of a falling off of the questions and the comments. We are at the 3-hour mark. This is probably a good place to start winding down. I know Doc's fading on me.
Yeah. He's going.
Love the shirt, Doc.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you've been. See it now. I know which one it is. Yeah.
But yeah,
explain to Jesus what that shirt is. He doesn't know.
It's having angry sex with my snowmobile. That's a Wendigo. That's in Wild Hunt, Curse of the Wendigo. My character, me, is taking care of one of the guys, one of my buddies, and Wendigo's after us. We're in the cabin. I'm taking care of him, doing some trauma med on him, and I said, hey, I think I can get this snowmobile and we can evac and get him out of here. And I was on the horn with the guy, and he said, what's happening? I said, well, it's like he's having angry sex with my snowmobile because he was out there shredding it. So that's kind of been our little tagline.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, but we'll be talking a whole bunch about other things and with the books and all that stuff and movies and
I'm definitely
anytime you guys
want that project with the script you're wanting to do with the native war against the Bigfoot in Oklahoma. That's going to be such a cool project.
Yep. Because I want to do that one and the Hanobi.
Hanobi.
Do those two. That'd be a cool 2-part movie,
Yeah.
Two stories to go in and out of.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'd be awesome. And like I said, anytime you guys want to, do this again, just let me know and I'll check with the wife and hop on.
Well, if you
are welcome back anytime.
Thanks, guys.
If you need a little short medic, I'm just up the road from you in Colorado, bro. So
yeah,
perfect. What part of Colorado are you in again?
I'm out near the Springs.
Okay, El Paso County.
Yes, sir.
I'm next to El Paso, but you're in El Paso County.
Exactly.
I used to live out in the Springs.
Okay, right on, man. Right on.
Yep. I was the head of security for Deja Vu.
Folks, before we take off,
for about 4 years. Like I said before, I was doing my film. I used to be a cleaner I used to travel across the United States, retraining security teams and getting the problems out of certain clubs that they couldn't get them out, you know. So I did that.
Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Yep. But the irony is, I ended up getting throat ripped in MacGruber, which he got from Patrick Swayze.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I've gone full circle. Now I'm hunting Sasquatch. You know? Oh yeah.
Well, before we take off, folks, I meant to do this earlier and completely slipped my mind because I was enjoying the conversation. I'm going to play a quick word from our sponsor, the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical. They we recognize a certain pint-sized medic up here in the upper right corner named Kerry Pocket Doc Davis. Dark Angel Medical and I go way back, since way before the show, when my first book came out back, 10 years ago. And we became fast friends over that. And I'm telling you, as a cop, I have carried no better medical kit than Dark Angel Medical kits. Trauma kits, first aid kits, whatever kit you need, they've got it all. And I would trust my life to no other kit. And I'll just leave it at that. And I'm going to play this, and then we'll talk about the discount code that you all can get. And I'll let Doc say a few words about it, and then we'll start wrapping things up. But here's a word from our sponsors.
This is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis with DarkAngelMedical.com, and you're listening to The Nightmare Hunter with Roger Noriega. In a time-as-life situation, you need the training.
That's the wrong one. That is an old commercial.
I was like, that's the old one, bro.
That's the old one. Holy crap. When I switched over, I uploaded the wrong commercial.
Nice.
I will get that fixed for the next show. So I'll just show the banner.
Damn it, Bobby. Get that tourniquet off your neck.
Oh, damn it.
I will put this up, and Doc, I'll let you explain that.
Well,
I'm going to get rid of that commercial, and I will get the other one.
I'll sell med kits and med kit accessories. So if you go to our website, Dark Angel Medical, and use Cryptid25, that's Cryptid25, they give you 25% off. That's our biggest discount code on our kits. We sell anything from little minor first aid kits all the way up to mass trauma, mass casualty bags. And the one this is our flagship kit. This is our direct action response kit. If you use one of those to save somebody's life, let me know. Doug's DA's holding up a EDC kit right there. If you use one of those to save somebody's life, we will replace what you use for free. Kit for life guarantee. So we've got over 140 saves now, I'm pretty happy to say. And so that's 140 more people walk around with another birthday from an idea that a little redneck from Route 2 Seminary, Mississippi had. So I'm pretty happy to do it. We teach classes all over the United States, so check on there if you want to get some good trauma training. We're nationally accredited by the American College of Surgeons as well, so we can get you trained up, get you kitted up. You just got to bring the right mindset and make a difference. And you also, Doc, don't you also work for SIG to help them out too? I work for a very significant firearms company. I've been a trainer up there. I've been an instructor at the firearms instructor, armorer, medical guy up there for the last 11 years now. So I had to shout that out. Sorry, man. I appreciate it. No, man, I can teach you how to put holes and stuff, or how to plug them up. So kind of a necessary skill.
Nice.
Thank you, DA. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, anytime, brother. Folks, again, head over to Dark Angel Medical. Use that code Cryptid25. And you can get 25% off your entire order. And if you put in the comments, if you put codename Wild Hunt or Team Odin, you can get that Team Odin rocker on your spear kit. And I don't have mine real close. It's the one my son took to the range the other day, so I don't know where he stuck it. Otherwise, I'd show the spear kit. I got one. Oh, hey,
Doc's got one. Got one on his belt
with the Team Odin rocker.
Yep.
So now we just need a giant Kandahar spear kit.
There we go.
Exactly.
And for those of you who have been looking for these, the Wild Hunt patches are in. Those should be available on the website very soon. I've got to work out the shipping and handling details and the payment methods, but these will be available very soon. Again, thanks to my brother from another mother, Doc, for getting that all set up and taken care of. So hopefully we will have those going very, very soon. Folks, it's been a great show. Jesus, brother, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You've got so
Yeah, man,
much,
thank you.
so much of a wealth of information, and not just on Bigfoot. I enjoyed talking cryptids and paranormal and UFOs, and we've got to get you back on again because we need to do this. I mean, 3 hours went by in a blink, so we need to do this again sometime.
Whatever topic you got, let me know. I got you.
And appreciate it, brother. And if we get Todd standing, I want you on the show.
Oh, please.
We will
got so much
definitely
to talk to that boy about, you know.
I'm trying to get him, man. I mean, I got him on Messenger, and I messaged him, and he responded. But you know, everybody's busy, and I understand that. So, just a matter of time.
Feel free to mention me to him.
I will. And
let
that's
him know,
what I was going to do.
Yeah, let him know that who I contact. Michael McCormick. Remember that name.
Okay.
Michael McCormick, professional puppeteer, animator, creator, all that. That you know, we talked to him, and he's in favor of his research and his evidence.
Awesome.
So,
Gotcha.
He knows he's not going to be attacked or anything like that.
No.
Yeah. Well, I know he's real worried. He's real paranoid about people. You know. So, yeah.
Folks, another quick reminder. If you guys have not had the chance or the opportunity to check out my novels, I would hope you'd go check everything out over at daroberts.net. I have books on cryptids. I have a zombie series. I have a sci-fi series, and more books are on the way. Currently with 25 novels in print and climbing. Book number 26 is almost done. I hope to have the release information on that in the next week or two. So watch for book number 26 in the series. It'll be the 5th book of the Apex Predator series. It's going to be called Apex Predator Dark Moon. And here is the cover.
Nice.
This is the new cover.
That's hot.
I like it. I'm pretty proud of that cover. Adam did a fantastic job. So look for that one being released very soon. Again, that's the 5th installment of the Apex Predator books, and you'll see a lot of familiar faces, and something new is going to be added to this book that I hope you guys will enjoy a great deal. And the funny thing is without even me intending to, Jesus mentioned what it was. I thought it was going to be a big surprise, but then he started talking about it earlier, and I'm like, So I can't wait for that one to come up. You guys to check that out, because there's going to be a surprise in this one that has not been seen in one of my books before. So hope you guys will check that out. Again, daroberts.net. Check out all the books, and I would love to hear what you guys think. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I've said it many times. We don't have fans, we have friends. I thoroughly enjoy hanging out, talking to everybody on the show. It's amazing. Through this show, we've managed to meet some amazing people, Jesus included. He is just an awesome guy, fantastic researcher, a genuine Renaissance man of our time, actor, stuntman, writer, now going to be a producer because he's working on his own stuff. Just an all-around fantastic guy, and one of the best Bigfoot researchers I've ran across. Just absolutely fantastic, dude. Thank you so much.
My honor, brother. And everybody, don't forget to get his books, his kids to save people with. And if you run into anybody that's good for interview, tell him.
Yeah, me right here. Answer me on Facebook, man, please.
Right?
Somebody.
Yeah.
That's how I got Jesus. I reached out to him, and
you got Jesus in your life now.
Yeah, man.
Well,
go to his channel too.
Good night, brother.
Yeah,
Have a good
like
night.
Go to Jesus' channel too.
Breaking Bigfoot on YouTube. Breaking Bigfoot.
Yes.
Yeah, I shared the link in the chat. Go over, show a little love, like and subscribe to his channel. Check out the content. He's got some fantastic videos on there, including the one that I was talking about that cracked me up with Bigfoot flipping him the bird. Great video, some amazing content, great video breakdowns, and he's got several documentaries on there as well that you guys should definitely check out. And just an FYI, Anthony and I are going to be working on a documentary in the very, very near future. So look for news on that as well.
Yeah.
So again, folks, thank you guys so much. Head over to Dark Angel Medical, show them some love. Go over to Breaking Bigfoot, show him some love. Let him know we sent you. Use that code Cryptid25 for 25% off your order over at Dark Angel Medical. And if you're going to go out in the woods, whether you're looking for Bigfoot, whether you're hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, any of the above, if you're going to be off the grid, away from basic medical services, protect yourself.
Right.
You have the right to come home, and there are things out there that are not cryptid related that can and will hurt you. And even when you're in the deep woods, and as Jesus can tell you, even a minor injury can become life-threatening if you're far enough off the trail. Carry a kit. Carry protection to take care of yourself. Whenever you're going, wherever you're going, tell somebody where you're going and when you expect to be back. A lot of these places will not have cell service. You have to be careful and plan ahead. Make sure you have plenty of hydration. Remember the rule of 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Be careful when you're in the woods, because there are things that can and will hurt you. And they're not just wielding giant rocks that Jesus has found, although some of them might be.
You never know.
That's right. You don't know.
You don't want to end up being on David Pilar's list.
Nobody wants to be a missing 411.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
Hope you guys have a wonderful night.
You.
I forgot to let everybody know there will not be a show this Wednesday because it's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man. I'll be 52. And I will not be one this coming Saturday, June 4th, because my wife is surprising me and taking me out of town. For her birthday, she wanted to go to a casino. She asked me where I wanted to go. I said cabin in the woods. So we're going into a cabin in the woods somewhere for my birthday. So it's going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. And we will resume again a week from Wednesday, and we'll have show announcements. So again, sorry, I know longest. It's the Ozarks. Goodbye. It takes 15 minutes to say goodbye from the door. But Jesus, again, thank you. Everybody check out Breaking Bigfoot. Check out Dark Angel Medical. And you guys be safe. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. Good night and God bless, people.
Salute.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.